And we know what Jesus was when he was a man on earth. What was his profession? Was he a doctor?
Carpenter.
He was a heavenly doctor, but what was Jesus' work?
Carpenter.
But that's his heaven. But when he was a man on earth,
Panda ito si Lord
he was
Jesus.
a carpenter. Jesus
Panda ito
was a
siya.
carpenter. Because we know Jesus is the foundation. Jesus is the foundation. But also the builder. Without us, without the carpenters, the workers, there's no building. Without Jesus, there's no building, heavenly building for us. And then once though I became, and Jesus came in, and it's like, oh, Jesus, please forgive me for my sins. I could feel right away, boom, the God coming in me. And so it's no longer me. I feel me in there because I'd rather go steal a chicken and have a dinner. I would rather. Hello and welcome everybody. Another show on Proverbs Guys Ministry to glorify God, our Savior Jesus Christ. and hopefully have some fun with me as my tech guy and chief,
All of the above.
Steven. Yes, and he's actually the guy that started this channel, and so any blame, anything you don't like I say, you can address it to the tech guy for Proverbs Guys Ministry. Amen.
Or
Great
forward
job.
your complaints to the vice president, Brother Achilles in Greece. Just make sure it's by paper mail, and we'll respond in 3 to 6 business years.
Very good. I am about delegation, and so that's super. You just are passing it on. Then he can send it to one of the other newbies. Then maybe, or he's not a newbie, but one of the newbies maybe. We know what to do here. But I'm so excited today because my love of nature and design stems back from a lot of years of career, and I just love to share it. I love to be able to show how that just nature itself, like Romans chapter 1, verse 20, talks about nature and the glory of God being seen through his creation, even his power and Godhead. And that is the best evidence outside of the God of the universe coming, dwelling inside of us, making his house inside of us, cleaning up house. And we had a good, actually related sermon today. Part was on that, and that was just, again, all these threads going through. And have a safe trip, love. Gemma just saying goodbye, telling me she was headed out the door because she knows I'll be here for 4 hours. No, short show today. But today it was so cool. I was going to talk a little bit about God's design. Okay, actually, I'm going to talk about design we see in nature that could have happened by random chance, unguided processes worked on by natural selection, or it could have an actual intelligent designer creator behind it. And let's see if we can do this here. And where are we?
Yeah, we're going to make the clawed balls in the world look funny today. Unless they care to come defend their false religion.
Well, and actually that, and I've talked to him, and he's been a very good sport, but his, again, rejecting Jesus Christ, rejecting design, not seeing evidence for it is, and goes back to his belief that the scientists, it's an actual fallacy, that he trusts in the experts. And we just know how well that's worked through history and how many botched surgeries, because that's one example people will use. Well, if I got something wrong with me, I'm going to go to a doctor. Well, we had Dr. Kevorkian, not the best prenatal doctor in the world. You had the doctors in Germany before, best in their fields. You didn't want to be under their care. So the false argument of authority is because that's what it is, false. And you're trusting in mankind, who has throughout history, and nobody I've met yet seriously says they're perfect, which means you're imperfect, which means you've got to trust information, imperfection coming through chemical processes. If there's no God, it's just random chance chemical processes getting together. And that is, go for it. And that is not going to be what I'm trusting in, because I'm going to go with the evidence. So we're going to look at this evidence, and we're going to see which is the best conclusion for the cause of what is going on here. And so you look, and this is what today we're going to check out. And this is the girdling of trees, and how, though, this is mechanically done by a mistake. but how that can happen in nature. And I had the roots going around it, or vines going around a tree will do the same thing. But look at this. Check this out. Now this looks, but what are we looking at here as a designer? If I wanted to design a system, hence this tree, that could do that, what are we looking at here? We're looking at cables and then tree ties, and we're seeing that cable on one side there, that was holding something up. The tree was being held up, or the tree was holding something else up via that cable. And I had my barn here at the house. I was going to get pictures, but this is good. I had a redwood tree right next to this old 1940s barn, probably out of older recycled wood, and it was falling over. So I cabled it to a redwood tree. And just after 3-4 years, wasn't this bad because I was kind of watching it, but it was girdling in. So what are we looking at here? You see the cellular growth, and you see what it is. It's not cutting into the tree. The tree has grown since the cables and tree ties have been put on. And what that tree is trying to do is grow around. So you have as it's growing bigger, and you can't really tell right here that well, but it's actually trying to grow over top of the cable. And once it grows from bottom to top, connect, if it does it before it's dead, it will graft in itself the cellular structures, the phylum and phloem, which are the ones that actually are the tunnels, the trails to get the sap from root to the leaf, and from the leaves to the roots. And it right now is fine because it's got enough underneath that girdled area. But once it grows over it, it will be a new tree again. It will be stunted. It won't be good. But how do you design that? How do you design something? Let's take a lot of and we're going to use man-made designs, but we're going to do it of how to re-engineer what we see here into humankind, into what we have made. That is what is done, whether it's the different flying machines copying birds, or different systems being made more efficient through what we see in nature. And this is an answer to a question last night. Someday anyway. Don't hold me to exactly when, but do I see design in everything? And I answered it twice, but it still came out. I do not see design in everything. An example. And my conclusion was, I see that everything is designed, or the products of design. Example, the waves in the ocean that come onto the shore, and they make a design in the sand. We know the patterns in the sand. Those patterns were not designed, but the gravity, the tides, with the tides, and then the water itself, all this stuff appears designed, because I believe, and we will believe, Stephen, that it was designed. So even things that weren't directly designed, like the patterns in the sand, were caused, in my opinion, by design. And because they were coming and saying, oh, you can't know design if there's something that's not designed. Okay. So, but where even if that was true, even if I thought everything was designed, which I don't, but the process of design is that just showing what humans do. We pattern designs after natural phenomenon. We would call it design. Others would call it random chance, unguided processes worked on by natural selection. So here we go. But check that out. So underneath that, you've got the sap coming from the roots, the nourishment coming, the up the trunk, down the trunk, that system, that just awesome system. But to be able to survive, this has to be pre-programmed. If you could not reconnect the top to the bottom, this tree's just dead. And it might be already. I mean, it might be if it can't get over top as quick enough, the tree will die. But potentially, it can incorporate what that cable and reconnect, and just an awesome thing. I don't even know how we could do that. Even figure something, maybe like an electrical current that if it gets cut, that it will actually by itself make make a new connection. That would be a good thing with the water. Say if you have a water pipe and it starts to break underground, that's something monitoring the whole pipeline could actually heal itself, patch itself. There's something that would be a great human design, because then you wouldn't have to dig up the pipes, you wouldn't have to redo piping. How about if stuff get the rusting pipes? How about if we got some kind of system you could put in the pipes that would actually take away the corroding, the rusting processes, so that the pipes would last longer? Check out these trees that are happening by random chance, unguided mutations. I don't have enough faith for that. So, what do you think on that, Stephen? If you're here, not playing with that cute little guy.
No, I think that's a good point. I didn't know about the tree being able to potentially absorb the cable. That was interesting.
Yes, and you see on the one on the right, because you see the cable. The other, those are tree ties. I don't know if it's ropes or they're pieces of hose, and it either has a rope or a wire cable in it to connect the tree. And you can see the two of them, and then the third one, you can see it's incorporated in there.
You have a question from your secret admirer.
Oh, good. He must have just got here. I don't believe that the waves, not the waves. I don't believe that the patterns in the sand were directly designed, Claude. So that would be, though, I believe that, and see the design in the tides, in the moon, in the way the solar system that causes water itself, chemicals that get together to make water, your H2O, and with the moon orbiting will make the tides, which will splash in on the beaches and make those patterns. They look like a nice design pattern, but they're not.
Well,
And so,
according to Monsieur Claude, he says the tree does not look intelligently designed. I would
alrighty,
say it's
well,
because it takes intelligence to recognize it.
that is all opinions stated on this show are not that of the designer. I might
Amen.
lean that way, but I will not say that. So then let's see, because we're going to go deeper. So you don't think this looks designed? So let me show you. Let me get rid of that thing. How do we do that? Hit that button. Look at that. So this is a piece of an Acer palmatum. If I stop, maybe we can. If it's not focusing well. Acer palmatum, Japanese maple, a tree that was native to Asia. And so look at this. This string was put around it. Couldn't have been by me to hold it back so the dumb construction guys wouldn't break the trees. Luckily, plenty of branches, and this one needed to come off anyway. But look at this. Here's coming from the trunk. The trunk of this tree is about 4 to 6 inches. And so this one coming off one of the main laterals. And then this was tying the tree back so that the construction workers wouldn't break up, because they're kind of crispy little guys. Boom, as you see. Do not a good match for a construction worker. So, there it is here. Can we see that good?
Yes, it definitely looks like bamboo.
I'm going to send you out your doctorate on horticulture tomorrow. Okay. So, but here's the side that's coming from the tree. This is then the side outside. Look which one's bigger. This little guy, and I would have said in my mind, well, this one should have been bigger because it's getting all the nutrients coming up from the roots. And you would have think where the girdle is, then on this side would have had less. But what a great design, because it needs this stuff. This is what is going to make the seeds. This would have held on long enough, even if it was the own little tree, to make seeds and reproduce. That in itself is just awesome town. Then, but you look at it, and we have probably double the amount on top. So it was getting and feeding from the roots enough that it huge. And you can see where I cut it off. This one almost is as big as the main branch coming in. And usually you're going to have an equal thing of the cellular structure coming in to what you got on the top. But wow, craziness. So you can imagine this one was like about 4 feet long, 3 feet from this girdle. But now let's get close, see if we can see this. It's a big bump. That's a callus, just like when we get a cut. Although there was no cut on this, it still formed a bunch of cells. So that's a bunch of cells that are potential then to be created everywhere. But you can imagine there has to be some kind of programming in there, might I say, or it appears to be programmed, because how come we don't have an accelerated amount of cells here, or a expanded cells here, and made this looks like some kind of elephant disease or whatever that where cells, it's a bad mutation, a bad something, so that parts of their bodies will grow more on their face, or we've seen that in rarely, luckily, but we have this that's programmed somewhere, because you can see what it's doing. We have on this side, we have on this little, from the trunk, we have expanding cells. And on this side, that is trying to heal itself over and reconnect. Now that's a pretty big space. This guy would probably not make it, I would imagine, but it would have made enough enough seeds that it would have reproduced. So I'm telling you guys, okay, so let's see something in, and again, so in man-made material, we have a pipeline, because this is like a pipe. We're having the juices or whatever you put into your man-made pipe, they're flowing through up and down, but this is going up and down. And if we see, I don't know if we can see it that well here, but we have the center that is dead. There's no life in the center. Then you see that ring around the edge. Well, that's actually two. We have the bark on the outside, and on the inside, there's actually an inner bark, a cambium layer, and then an inner bark. So both right there, you have the sap flowing up and the sap flowing down, and then you have just a little barrier in between it. Can you imagine? I want to put pipe, gas, oil, whatever, through a pipe. But what if sometimes I want it to come back the other way? I can't do that in our technology. Imagine if we could design a pipe that it could go both ways. And then what happens in our pipes? And I got one, just another, yeah, can't remember where it was, but recently, a pipe. Oh, yeah, one of my customers, I can see the pipe coming out of the house, and the irrigation going down, and this one is off. And I can see a leak here because it's breaking at this joint right here from a pipe coming horizontal and one perpendicular. And so it's breaking. What had happened if that could repair itself? Crazy design. But this was by chance, and I don't see any design in this thing. So, Claude, and what you do is is you can see, now be honest, that, welcome Andrew, we're talking about cellular structures in plants.
Hi, Dan.
And hey, Gigi, oh, Gigi, hello. I
I
gotta
see.
watch those ghosts. Gotta watch those ghosts. They can pop in and out without you knowing it. And so it's saying how this is designed. So if you saw pipe work, that you could have a pipe that had different flow in either direction, you'd say, whoa, that is the best designed pipe work as a landscaper. That would be awesome. But we look at this and goes, oh, that's not designed. Okay, Claude, you got to be honest, like Dr. Richard Dawkins, say that at least give me that, like whoever the guy was, Dr. Richard Dawkins believed that biology was the study of processes that appear designed for a purpose. And then he wrote a whole book going, but they're not, because God's a bad guy. And we got mutations. This can happen through mutations. So I'm going, okay, that's cool. I'm open, unlike our atheist friends that aren't open to a God. We don't see any evidence for God. Oh, dudes, open thy eyes. So with this little Acer palmatum, we can see awesome design characteristics. Then again, you can believe this was random chance processes worked on by natural selection, or you can think, wow, that appears designed, because I think it was. Let's get up the next one here. I was going to show you. Oh, yeah, we can do this one first.
I
maybe.
double dog dare you to do it now, Dan.
Do what?
No, but on a serious note, I would need you to also explain what the variables in the environment would have been for that plant in order for it to develop the ability to transport fluids in both directions.
Oh, what
in
a
order
great...
to say it's not an intelligent design, right? There would have to be variables to cause it, correct?
Exactly. You came, because again, let's look at the evidence they give us and see if it's really their conclusion. On the table. Sorry, I stole the key. I don't think I have it in my pockets. Oh, I'm bad.
Gemma,
Not in
don't
trouble yet.
forgive Dan no matter what.
Because I'm so cute. Yes, we got into that today. It's anyway, get off of that subject. Back onto trees. And so we're thinking here's what they're telling us the best explanation to the evidence is. We had a bunch of chemicals. Let's not even talk about it farther out. We had a bunch of chemicals, and I can use this in my explanation because this came out of my 1970s biology. Abiogenesis was in the biology book, telling us how it could have happened, that biology happened. So we have this pond, we have all these chemicals in it, and they just like, just like throwing the dice. They got together because we knew back then all they had. My glasses here are probably better than the microscopes they had at the time because it wasn't that good. Hello, Kristen Pike. Do we have a link out there?
There are several links out there, so if they
Okay.
don't come in to debate you, they're scared yellow bellies.
Or they know I'm right. Either way, I'll take it. So when we're looking at that, so it was easy for them in the 70s to slide in the thing in the 60s. Well, we don't really need a God because we have Mr. whoever he was, Darwin, sorry. Mr. Darwin, and now Darwin, and we know that because of his Darwin's bulldog, and then a few other guys that ran with that theory, because in quote one of them, and you guys can look up the quote type it in, you'll find it. That's what I've done it before, and I'm going in a rabbit trail. So that it makes it easier to get rid of God. If we can do it naturally, we don't need a God. So we get back in here into the 60s, and we have me looking at this. I didn't know, because even the church in which I was raised was fine with it. Whatever, anyway.
Big
And
Bad Mama is giving a science lesson here.
Oh, good. Come on in. The evolution of plants has resulted in a wide range of complexity, from the earliest algal mats of. He does that. He's got it very good. Yeah, very highly big words in my glasses. I need the next one up. Through molecular, marine, and okay. So again, that's what we're being told. But we look at it and we see, we'll get to that point. Right now I'm going to stick, okay, hold that, Big Bad Mama, because I'm going to finish my little presentation first. And the next one, so we're talking about the cellular structure of these trees. Keep that that question you've had also, Stephen, to go deeper into that, because we saw the amazing, and nobody, I mean, Christian, non-Christian, hater of God, lover of God, they all, I mean, you have non-Christian, all.
Hey, Claude, you have to turn off Proverbs guys in your background.
Oh, he's new at this.
He's new at everything.
There we go. Where are we? I have so many of these things open. Did that one. Let's see about this one. That one we had already. Looking up the, we'll go straight to this one. This one is so cool. Share this. This now we're getting down into the cellular level. So, so I showed you without a magnifying glass what we're seeing, what is going on here. And here we go.
Where did Angel go?
Oh. So here we go. This is called Travel Deep Inside the Leaf, animated version, California Academy of Scientists. That might not be good enough for them, but I'm sorry, guys. Again, I'm just using Google. This California Academy of Scientists might be a theistic, looks good to me, but this is what I'm showing you, and then you can come back and argue with it and say that this really isn't what is happening on a cellular level. Okay, we're seeing that pretty good on the screen.
You could hit the, enlarge screen. There you go.
Boom. And so I'm going to be over
one, Dan.
So I'll be over here. Stop me if you want. Let's go back. Here we go. We are approaching a redwood tree to animate a scientifically accurate leaf. Artist studied the texture of a redwood leaf specimen on a glass slide at high resolution. They even counted the stomata and used that exact count for the film. That's some whatever that's called. Not my field. We have horticulture, botany. This is more botany stuff, which is the science of just what trees do, the classifications, all that kind of stuff. So, my favorite tree here, redwood tree. Pretty good looking. Pretty accurate on the ants that we have around here. Tree leaves would be measured on a centimeter scale throughout the animation. they're gonna go faster. So here's to the leaf. Now it's a millimeter. They're going, as they can say, more and more magnification. Help me. I'm gonna stop it. As we enter into the interior of the leaf, we see many individual palisade cells. Check your botanist for that. These cells are where photosynthesis takes place. They are translucent to allow sunlight to enter. Check it out. And again, you've got all these cells in there, and they've got normal cell walls. They could have done photosynthesis, but sun couldn't get in and out. So not only we have a change, would have had to have been a mutation in the earlier things, and algae was able to do it. So in the algae era, first photosynthesis, and I'm just going with what Deep Time would tell us, what the books now, that even though they've lied throughout my, no, they didn't lie, because lie is knowing it. They were ignorant on what they taught me in the 60s, 70s, and now 80s, and then till today. But we'll go with them. They are our authorities. We've got to listen to these people. Don't listen to those ones in the 1960s and 70s, because they were ignorant and they didn't know any better, even though they taught generations that God wasn't needed, that the evidence of what they taught me showed that we didn't need a God. Now, through the decades, of course, now we're actually looking inside of this through scientific research and study that we all have, but then we have to figure out, what's the best cause for this? What's the best cause for photosynthesis, for the structure, for being able to heal and
Let me
callousing?
shorten it for you. You're going to say God anyway, so you may as well just get on and say it.
No, we do. See, and this is great, and this is why I like you here, Claude, is because you don't have to hear evidence. The
Well,
scientists
you are
told
not
you
giving
the
it.
time.
So, yeah.
Claude, you interrupted me. Don't interrupt during my presentation.
Oh,
Is that you believe, Claude, that you don't have to look at evidence yourself, because scientists who are smarter, I guess, than you looked at it and told you what to think. I won't do that. I don't do that. So
well, you're
let's
not
see.
a scientist for a start, so of course we wouldn't have to, I mean,
Let's see what the evidence is. And
okay.
science gives us evidence, and then we, as humans, figure out the best cause for what the evidence is. So let's keep going here. So now we're going through this forest of cells in a leaf that can actually convert sunlight to energy. Here we go. So they're approaching one of a single cell. So it's zooming in farther. And so the shapes inside the cell are organelles, which I believe are the power sources, the power plants. Organelles, nope, that's the mitochondria. So we'll let them tell them. The brightly globulous at the bottom are the Golgi apparatus, and the yellow spotted tubes are endoplasmic reticulum, stubbed with the other things. Wow.
That's
This,
exactly what I was just going to say, so I'm glad to hear
I
them
think
say
I
it
did
also.
pretty good on most of those. But again, I'm not a botanist. I'm not in, but look at that. I don't have to pronounce the words to think that now, as a designer, I'm looking at every one of those words, either systems or individual. Golgi apparatus. I did know that one. We'll see if they show us again what it is. But they're little machines. They are natural machines. Inside this, what are we up to now? 10 trillion magnification. It wasn't that much, but you can't see it. Let's see. So the large blue membrane surrounds the nucleus. So there's the nucleus of it, of the cell. The purple blobs are mitochondria. That I believe is the power packs, the power plants of the cell that in themselves are incredible, because as humans, both the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, we have power plants inside of every cell, because it takes power. Surprise, surprise. Who would have known? Darwin wouldn't have known. People, the Pope at the time wouldn't have known. Christians, non-Christians back in the 1800s had no clue of this. So it's kind of easy to say that, yeah, that globule, they thought it was a bunch of jello. Cells look like jello to them. And then look at this, though, with science. Yes, science. We believe in science. I love science. Science is what scientists did to show us, to get down, to research, giving us what the evidence is inside a cell, as they thought back in the day. Can we say now that they were wrong, that this wouldn't have been something easy to have popped into existence? Would Darwin have even thought that biology was possible when this is the complexity we see? So let's keep going. And you can see there's multiple of these power things. The mitochondria, I think they saw it. And then here, the faint yellow spiderweb structure of the cytoskeleton provides structure and support to the cell. So yes, it has a framework inside of it. And in the more complex, and maybe even these guys too, is that they will have actually little roads. They will create mitochondria, and I believe that's the right word, but they're always constructing to get things to the different parts of the cell. Because if you figured you have a little sphere here, and if you had to go from the nucleus to every part of the cell wall, every little mitochondria, every little thing, you would be so plugged up in there. So I don't know, with the plants, with the animal cells, they will actually construct themselves to get and pull, and little machines carrying supplies from one part to the cell to another. Incredible. And Claude, is Claude in, or is he just backstage? If he wants to comment on, or ask questions, or have comments on what we're looking at now.
Yeah, well, what's the point of it? I just don't get that proves you're God at all.
Is he on stage, Stephen?
Can you hear me?
Yes, he is on stage.
I can hear you, but I don't. I want to make sure that
hear you, Claude.
Stephen, are you around?
Hello, yes, hello.
Dan. Anybody around? Let me see. Claude, can you just 1 second? I'm gonna get you to talk and see if I can hear you. Just 1 second.
Dan,
go ahead, Claude. Talk.
Dan, he's on with us, Dan.
Just 1 second.
Hello.
Dan, he's on with us.
Okay, good. All right, so yeah, you're on. I just want to make sure everybody could hear you, Claude, to be fair. So, no, what we're doing right now, Claude, like all science would do, is we're looking at evidence. And then after this, we will ask the different possibilities. What could have caused this that we've been watching? So after that, we can go through and see which is the best explanation to what we see. So here we go. So we're about to go inside now. Now we're even going to go to say how much more magnification. It's the membrane structure. And I won't even say them because I don't know it. If you guys do, no, that's cool. You can about to enter a chloroplast. Inside, you will see flat pancake-like membranous structures. Again, now we're going even skinnier now. So it's kind of hard for our mind to see that, yeah, this looks just as big. This is actually bigger than the Japanese maple trunk I showed you. Got to remember, though, this is something you cannot see. Darwin could not see. People could not see up until probably, well, way into, well, I didn't see it in the 60s. This wasn't evidence that we were shown. So I think it's even early, sooner or closer to us. And so this is where a light dependent reaction of photosynthesis takes place to produce ATP, and that's the power material, the cell's energy carrying molecule. Excuse me. So the ATP is just the carrier of the energy. Craziness. Oh, here we go. Deep dive. So the molecules are shown moving 1 million times slower than in real life. So, dudes, now we're into slow motion. We can say, oh, yeah, these are cute. 1 million times faster that stuff is going around in there. The little particles floating inside of here. So
How do
imagine
you
that.
know that, Dan? How do you know that it's 1 million times slower?
I am believing the
A scientist. Oh, okay. Thank you.
correct. Oh, yes, I'm believing the evidence the scientists have given us. Here we go. I don't know if these are scientists. This is a Academy of Science, California Academy of Sciences. I'd imagine again, but I got in trouble because I trusted just looking up stuff before. That's why I said, Claude, thanks to you, I believe just what I read on a computer, and which took away from awesome creation that we were showing. So this is according, and I said it when I started, the California Academy of Sciences. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't look them up. I didn't see if they're aliens from outer space or anything. So I am just giving you what you could look up, what I can look up. And here we go. So cool. We see a leaf. We see leaves that we know what they're doing because we've been taught. But check this out. We are near an individual thylakoid. The animation scale continues to shrink down to the molecule level where things are measured in nanometers. Okay, guys, you got to eat a lot of these little individual things to fill the tummy. Here we go. Now, the green and the bluish-like structures are photosystems, clusters of proteins that absorb light energy from the sun and help convert it into the chemical energy that's stored in the bonds of the energy-carrying molecules called ATP. My goodness, you would think the smaller you get, the less complicated it would be. And in the contrary, we're seeing the smaller we get, this is now on cellular level, they're saying, it's totally more complex. Let's keep going. Now, again, you see all those things moving around in the back. That's 1 millionth the speed they're actually traveling in real life. Crazy. Now, by looks at them, hopefully they'll tell us, but those are coils. Are those actually little protein guys floating around? Is it? I don't know what it is, but those are little structures. They're not just little pieces of dust. And 1 million times faster. They're already gone wherever they went in a blink of an eye. Oh, yeah, right there. The yellow-green rotating structure is the enzyme called ATP synthase. This molecular machine facilitates the flow of protons down their concentration gradient from one side of the thylakoid membrane to the other. using the energy released in the process to assemble ATP. These are microscopic machines. So then again, now guys, I'm still trying to get all this in my mind because we're going to recreate this plant leaf. We are at the height of the universe with brain power. We are the gods of this world. God as being the highest evolved mind in the universe, according to atheism or godless evolution, whatever term you want to use without a creator designer. So, okay, get in your mind here now. We have to have the big structure, but you got to start with the small stuff, or do we start with the big stuff and then we create these little things in here?
Well,
Wow.
we could start with the big stuff if you want.
What's that?
We could start with the big stuff. I mean, if I can just read a little quote, it probably will mean you don't need to go through all this anymore.
Okay.
Like if you just get, it'll only take a minute to read it. It says, evolution is a central concept in modern science, including biology, geology, and astronomy. The California Academy of Sciences, which you've got their thing up here, with its broad mission to regenerate the natural world through science, learning, and collaboration,
Okay, sorry. Can you say that again? Oh, sorry,
that
Claude.
the evolution is fundamental to understanding biological diversity and is a critical organizing principle for scientific research and museums. So there we go. That's
Okay,
the
well,
outfit.
Claude, can you read? I tried to stop you because I didn't get that. Can you read that again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Evolution. This is from the California Academy of Sciences website. Evolution is a central concept in modern science, including biology, geology, and astronomy. The California Academy of Sciences, with its broad mission to regenerate the natural world through science, learning, and collaboration.
Okay, stay right there. Wait, Claude. So say that again. Their mission is to what?
Okay, they have a mission to a
Or whatever
broad
your
mission.
last. No, your last sentence.
Regenerate the natural world through science. So, in other words,
Regenerate.
the natural world. In other words, look after nature. Make sure that there's biodiversity in forests and seas,
Regenerate.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go with that. That's why I wanted to stop. It's like I was trying to see how they.
The principal bit is they recognize that evolution, I'm reading this word for word, recognizes that evolution is fundamental to understanding biological diversity and is a critical organizing principle for scientific research and science museums as well, if you're going to put it in a museum. So, and it talks about the facts of evolution. So yeah, it's just very interesting that you would use one of their videos. So I'm glad actually.
No, and that's why this will be hopefully a way for you, Claude, and other people that we have no problem with the science. It
Good.
is.
Because
It is.
that's
Well, wait a minute. It's the conclusion that you just read that then, and I want to and see if you think the same thing. When they say that evolution, they're thinking of the the common descent, the evolution as defined as the progression, the change from single cell or first living life to the
yep.
complexity we see today, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on that they believe that and therefore, and what I said, that's why that strictly defined has no room. Well, you can believe in a God that he just started it to begin with somewhere, or didn't even, because with the total the theory of evolution plus its precursors back to the great expansion, you don't need a creator. So
Well, it doesn't comment on whether there's a creator or not. What it's saying is that evolution is a fact, and whether you think it was sparked off by a creator, well, that's sort of up to you. So it doesn't speak about that. But what you say is that evolution isn't a fact. I think.
I don't see and this is why we have these shows, because we all see this information here, And as a designer, then I'm going to see that every one of these little machines had to come into existence by random chance, unguided mutations. And I'm
Well,
calling that that you have to have a faith for that. And let's go and we'll see it because Claude, now not only few of these little light green patches are enzymes called ATP. It's the, I believe, I can be corrected, but they're machines that make the power that it's converting in a plant, or they either do it or part of of it that takes the sunshine and makes energy from it.
well, according to the group that made this video from which you are quoting, evolution is a fact, and what that is showing is evolution. It's not showing whatever you're trying to say it's showing.
Well, and this is why,
You know
Claude.
nothing about it compared to these people. I mean, you know, and to be fair, I'm not an expert either, but these people are. That's why
Well,
you're using their stuff. You must recognize that.
I think they
It's
know
essentially,
what. So Claude, here again, and because thank you, Claude, because if you misunderstood what I was saying, other people might not. This is evidence that they have created. Now, this evidence itself does not prove evolution. That's
well,
must be something that must be something else. But the evidence we're seeing here
it's all
is
part of evolution.
what we now they are saying that they have evidence somewhere else that
Well,
all
they
these
made
little
it, Dan. They made it. You're riding on their coattails and
no, no, no,
reaching
no,
to
no,
the
no.
conclusion.
Oh, wait. No, Claude. Wait,
Well,
stop
that's
that.
intelligent. That's
I know.
intelligent. Come on. Yeah.
Up.
Well, I
So,
mean, you immediately lose all 5 audience members we have
so,
if you do that.
so, Claude.
Well, 3 of
Now,
them are your
you're
spam
have you
accounts, Claude.
seen anything here that would show that this evolved from a simple original life form?
Yes.
What?
Everything about it says that that's how that all started over billions of
Okay, good. No,
years.
and this is good. Let's continue. Keep that thought, Claude, because you've got micro machines, and you see this 100% that they came from something that didn't have these,
They
right?
evolved. I mean, you can prove that it was a god if you want. I mean, it's your show, so I should really let you come on with the proof that it's your god. And not only is it a god, but it's your one. That's what
Yeah, and
we
so
want to find out. Yeah.
no, and that's why I'm glad you're here, Claude, because I do, and no matter what anybody says or falsely accused, I like to have other opinions. I want to know why and how you think that a little machine, and see even these little squiggly things that are dark green, that's a whole system. And so it's a microscopic. You can't even see it. You could probably breathe in. If this went through a shredder, you could breathe in 1,000,000 of these things or more and not even know it or be affected by it. If you're out there cutting trees and throwing them through a chipper,
I read in a science
this
book, Dan,
is
that
again
comes
just the
from a
evidence
star
we
fart.
have. Now, this video, let me tell you, Claude, this is not showing that it could have evolved. There's other principles they say that made it evolve. So we're just seeing a structure. We don't see any pathway to a lesser structure. See what I'm saying, Claude? So this is evidence of what nature is. This is not evidence for evolution or not evolution. This is just inside of a plant. Then we'd have to have more to figure out if that was evolved or it couldn't have evolved. And that's where we're going there. Let's go. Here we go.
Good job, Dan.
Now look at this dark green guy, and it's really they say it is, I believe them, is that it's
What is the
spinning. Here's a
dark green part?
microscopic guy made out of what? Chemicals, proteins, little building blocks of life. It's actually moving. They move. It's incredible. So let's just pretend we're going to just build that thing, just one of those. And you know, my mind is like, okay, what are these parts? They're moving. Oh, this is incredible. The pulses of light in the thylakoid membrane in which the photosynthesis systems are enabled represent energized electrons being passed from one photosystem to another, passing along the energy, which will be stored in the bonds of ATP, the classic bucket brigade. I don't get that one. So,
What is the thylakoid membrane, Dan? What's that?
which one are we talking? The
Well,
pulses of light in the. So it's one of these little guys in here.
well, which one? I mean, you don't know, do you?
Oh,
You know, I mean, this is where it
I do
becomes
not.
funny. It's quite a comic event,
So,
really.
so Claude, so if I don't know exactly if it's the bluish ones or the big darker
Well,
green ones or the littler ones, that makes that less
no,
amazing. No,
you didn't even know that the people that you're using the thing, you didn't
photosynthesis.
even know that they're evolution supporters. You know, you hadn't done your homework. Ah,
I know that's why we're using this, Claude, is because you are
no,
being misled to think that this could have happened by
oh.
chance.
I
Well,
didn't come down yesterday. I didn't sort of fall
evolution
down in rain.
Evolution. Okay, Claude, you do believe in the theory that these systems and each one of these things that we can't even see yet in how they are structured, these and those, I'm thinking those little light things are the actual um, smallest particle we know about, which are the electrons. I'm just postulating it's the smallest thing there. So you got to imagine though
Those
that
are the
these things
electrons. All right,
these
okay.
things happened by random chance, unguided mutations. We're going to get into more, Claude, and what it is people who have a that aren't just going to follow somebody that goes, "Oh yeah, this evolved from nothing." Well, no, you got to tell me though, Claude, and they would have to tell me where's the evidence for the mutations. Now, again, just off the top, is that how come there's only this many in this cell? Each one of these things had to be created. I don't know about these particular ones in human cells. They're made in the nucleus. Some things are made in other parts of the cell. And then but they have to stop. You can't just keep producing. It's like in a car factory. If you keep on just putting out fenders, you want 1,000 cars and you got 10,000 fenders, you got too many fenders. It ain't gonna work. The factory's finally gonna plug up. So you want 4,000 cars. Something has to tell the machinery intelligently designed to make sure you only get 4,000 fenders then, because we have 4 fenders per car, unless I'm mistaken. I could be.
Please don't liken what do you call it, a non-living thing, such as a car fender with
I know, because
evolution.
that's simple.
Really, it's a well, it's simple, and
Yeah,
it's
cars
something
are
that Kent
simple.
uses all the time
So
because he
I'm
does.
trying to
Yeah.
I'm dumbing it down from my mind
It's
because
too
yes,
dumb. It's not just dumb.
fenders
It's too dumb.
fenders are like you know, Legos.
Fenders,
So yeah, so I am using a simplistic
but it needs
example
to.
of this, which is probably a billion times more complex. So anyway, let's keep going.
Uh,
Now, this is the scientist telling me, so don't laugh at me, Claude. The small wigglies are ATP molecules. Now you can tell me, Claude, which ones are the small wigglies. I think that's a Academy of Science term. We must have it in some kind of scientific dictionary out there. So the wigglies are the ATP molecules. Living things store energy in the bonds of the ATP molecules and then use that energy to conduct all the processes of life. So without this right here, the other part of the cell is not going to be able to live. So I would say this type of stuff is pretty basic for our first life, because of course we got to know the first life before we can get into this little complex guy. Let's look for wigglies.
Well, you
Because
know, what the funny thing is, you're playing this and trying to use it as somehow proof of a designer.
well, let's
When
see
the
what I'm.
people that prepared this, let me just say it, the people
Let's
that prepared it are evolutionists. Now, the other, you can't write this, it's quite funny. The
very
other
good.
thing is thiacaloid evolution is the process by which those thiacaloids, which are photosynthetic membranes, they evolved, whatever, they reckon about 2 billion years ago, according to that. So you're
Thank you, Claude. Let's finish that sentence.
your
According to
6,000-year-old Earth's looking a little bit old.
according to
Wait a
them,
minute.
Claude.
Well,
According
you're
to
using
them,
their stuff,
do
Dan.
we?
You can't put this stuff up and say how it proves this, that, and the other, and then you
Do you want to go into a hospital, Claude? Do you want to go into a
justify
hospital
yourself.
in China that
Um,
harvests organs? Do you want to go
No,
there?
where did that, Dan? Where did that
They're
come?
the authorities. Those are the best. Some of the
Oh,
best doctors. Some of the
so
best
this,
doctors. You're gonna trust Dr.
so this.
Kevorkian, or you're
Oh,
gonna
come on.
trust your kid. No, you are going. It's
I'm
called a
not.
fallacy, Claude. It's a
You-
fallacy,
You're
Claude.
the fallacy. You're
No,
saying that you picked
Claude.
a few
Claude.
very bad doctors, and I somehow this is telling
Pause.
me that I want like Dr.
Claude.
Kevorkian.
You
Who's
are the
doing
one
this?
that goes for the false argument of listen to the experts, don't use your own brain. So let's continue on this. So look at the wigglies.
Oh God!
That's what they call them. What's intentionally missing are or altered. Find out by, okay, so
Yes, please go there because that Cal Academy is a really great site for evolution.
very cool. And you can, Claude, you can trust them without thinking on your own. That's fine.
You're playing their stuff. You're not thinking on your own. Where's your
Claude,
presentation?
here we have. Well, we'll let the people judge. Claude said
Yep, we
these
will.
guys believe. No, you said, Claude, that this video proves godless evolution, or a God not needed in the whole creation.
I told you it didn't have anything to do whether there's a God or not, but it does have to do with evolution, and
Right.
it's
So
made by people that
well,
do that.
explain that, Claude. You made a claim. You made a claim.
No, you make the claim.
This
You're
video,
making the claims about me.
Claude, did you?
Don't
Maybe
try that one. It doesn't work with me.
Claude, am I mistaken that you said that this is proof of evolution?
It's evidence towards evolution. But it's not. It's not the whole proof. But it's what is
Okay. So
highly comedic.
this leap right here. Well,
You're
let me
using an
Claude,
evolutionist video to try and say that God done it.
Be polite, Claude.
That's being polite.
So, Claude, where in here? Show me. I'll skip through. Is this evidence for evolution? This picture here. Are you seeing the pictures?
You can't just look at the pictures and say that
Okay.
that's.
So
you're going to look at the whole thing.
The whole thing.
You're running from the argument.
No, listen, Claude, you're interrupting. You're trying to. I'm actually trying to have a dialogue because you said this video. I don't even see any of these. I read them all. None of these captions talked anything about evolution.
No.
So where did you take, or were you wrong when you said like this picture?
Photosynthesis.
That you say this is evidence. So here's the little pancakes they called them.
I know it ain't quick.
Sorry if I should have looked up what they actually, because the scientists used pancake,
like the quickest
Glober, or whatever they called them. So these were the photosynthesis things. So this shows us that evolution is now to tell the audience, Claude, and then you can say, because you did say that this video proved evolution because the Academy of Sciences believes it. But as you look at this nothing in this video shows evolution is the small gradual changes, random chance over deep time, and nothing in this. Just to be clear, Claude, to correct you, nothing in here proves evolution. It is just showing. It'd be like putting my hand in front of a camera and say, oh, see, that's evolution. No, what this video is just showing us what nature, this cell is like, this plant inside the redwood. So, Claude, but for you though, and to really have any credibility, is would have to say is how this stuff proving evolution would say how the photosynthesis came into being.
Well, you'd have to do some more research on that. And
Correct.
there's
So this
plenty
video,
of stuff. There's
so
plenty of stuff on
you're
how
agreeing.
photosynthesis came into being, and it's also on their site, the Academy of Sciences site. You know,
Then you're agreeing that this video does not show evolution.
it's part of the evidence for evolution is on this video. Yes.
So tell me where.
Well, the bit that talks about the photosynthesis and the various parts of it. You
No,
know,
that's not changed. So remember, even for you.
Yes, it does. 2 billion years ago, they say that on the website of this.
No. We're talking about this video, Claude. We're talking about
using the video. You're just being silly, Dan. Now, just stop it. Now, listen to me. I'll just say a few more things, then I'll go and leave you to it. I'll leave you to it in a minute.
Okay.
But if you go even further, photosynthesis was discovered in the 18th century by Jan Ingenhuis, a Dutch-born physician and scientist. Now, Jan, I don't want to say this too loudly, but he was a Catholic. Oh my God! You know, one of the.
You're gonna get banned, Claude. You're gonna get banned for that.
Why? What for?
I'm teasing.
Okay. Anyway, I have to go because I've just got a little video conference. I had an old friend who many years ago I worked on some business matters with, who's now in one of Trump's economic advisors, which is quite good because I've got a little video interview with him tonight. So I want to talk to him about a few. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, up. I love you, Claude. Get me his contact. Tell him to call me.
He won't be calling now. He won't.
God, he hasn't called me. I need to get a hold of him.
Yeah, that's all right. I want to talk to him about Kent Hovind's videos, clips.
Tell him I said, hey, Claude.
Yeah, about his all this rubbish about him being innocent. So I must go now because I think it's about 7:30 over there already.
Claude.
Yeah.
Can you get me I need to talk to him.
I don't know that he will. I will ask. But,
Thank you.
Claude, I want to thank you,
Claude,
for advertising for Dr. Hovind while you've
been
on. You were
that's all right. You know, he is looking for a new wife, and unfortunately,
I knew you were waiting for him to become single so you could marry him.
Your friend wants you to marry him?
No, not at all. I mean, he
knew
was
a year
forever
ago
wife.
Claude
I remember
wanted to
that.
marry him.
At least we can have a laugh.
Clint, I don't know if any of his wives have loved him as much as you.
I wish you could have
Claude.
stayed longer.
Okay. I would probably got to listen a bit, but I just have to go and do this other thing. Okay.
Okay, well, I won't get your blood pressure because I really want you to have a good conversation with your friend. I'll try.
I had a good laugh. See you then.
All right, sir.
Bye.
Okay. So now, and that's good. And I actually like, Claude being on because that gives us, and not that he's in science, not that, any of that, but I'm going to start calling, no wonder. Hello, Christian Pike. Welcome.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Sure.
Am I like Celestial Stonehenge?
Just the regular Stonehenge at a certain time of day.
Okay, just checking.
Oh, good. I thought you were Bruce. He's the only one that puts his eyeballs up.
The heck?
I'm going to call you Bruce Jr.
You know, Christian, you and I have said a lot of bad things about each other in the past, going back and forth, but Dan just went ruthless.
I can't be outdone. Come on. But I just had, but I'd like to say, that's why thank you, and I'm glad Achilles is not here because he's got the axe ready just to coming down, because I really appreciated Claude's contributions. Man, I can read those stupid big words better than I can actually talk.
Contributions.
Yes. Where's Aiden when I need him to correct my words? It's so funny. He knows,
actually, Daniel, it's contributions.
Oh, see, I had it going either way.
It's contributations, Dan.
See, my brain is so well
Yes, in
advanced,
the
I can
Francais.
translate all forms of words that are close to what they're supposed to be. Actually, there was a thing where you see those, you can read words, they give you a paragraph, and then you can read the words that are messed up. I read those better than normal things, so it's kind
What's
of
a
funny.
molecule?
Say, what?
Molecule Kaolidot?
I said I could read them. I can't listen to them. Although it's
I,
so funny
I'm
because,
familiar with it though. It's actually Latin for storehouse of meat factories.
Yeah, that's right.
oh, well, I don't do Latin. I don't speak in tongues.
Neither do we.
So anyway, thank you, Claude, because then again, somebody who trusts authorities, this video here has nothing you can point to of the change to more primitive and primitive life forms. Just to let that be known. This is just showing, and that's what science is. It's blank. So it's just creating knowledge, creating evidence, and then people will interpret that to mean whatever they want. So again, oh man, how did I get it on those words? I didn't want
Okay,
that.
real super ultra quick. This show was about the design of plant stalks.
This is evidence that I say is evidence for design in nature. So what it is I'm putting in, because I'm a creationist, and so I'm just giving evidence. And then in the beginning, I said this is either a random, chance, unguided structure. Um,
But what's the
worked
like?
on.
What are you looking at specifically? Is my question.
Oh, right now, well, we were looking at the cool, since you missed it.
I saw some of it. I'm just making sure I understood.
Okay. It's just the awesome complex. So I started out with this guy, a little Japanese maple, Acer palmatum, that got girdled, and seeing how somehow, whether it's random, chance, unguided processes through mutations or created, this thing is trying to heal himself. Here's a string girdling it. I don't know, it doesn't look that good. Hopefully, you guys can see it enough. And
I can see the girdle.
yeah, and so this is swelling up and is actually trying to go
That's what happens to the top half of me when I wear a belt.
Unfortunately, it is trying to grow over, but it won't hook up to the lower part of your
I know the
stomach.
feeling, Dan.
Yeah, no. Now, actually, if you probably never mind, we won't go there. But so on this puppy, if it is able to, before it dies, before it is all the what are they? The little pipelines. Say it simply, the pipelines before they get totally smashed out and do not have and it's actually coming this way. It's going from the little side to the big side. That's kind of weird. Somebody would know that why, but so as it's going, if this can heal itself before it gets constricted and cuts off the source both ways, because it's the leaves are giving nutrition, and that might be why. Is that why it's
Dan, I don't
produced?
have a clue what you're talking about right now.
Well, this is the end of it. Here's where it was onto the tree. And it's on the tree, and you can imagine. So, but it's bigger on this side, which is you would think is being girdled. You can see that it's quite a bit bigger, but it's probably because it was producing so much through photosynthesis, so much energy that it got blocked here. And so now that could be just my guessing. It's just such a cool thing why it happened. Why that the part with the leaves is so much bigger than the part coming from the roots. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a really different caliper on these two
What
sides.
is the girdle is something that you guys put there to produce this effect?
Not me. I wouldn't have tied a tree and left that rope. Yes, I actually tied a bunch of things up so that the construction workers wouldn't break them. And then I missed that one. Actually, I untied it to allow it to come down because I did multiple of them. You know, I tied them up so that then the construction workers could get by without breaking everything. And this one I untied from propping it up, but I forgot to untie it right here. Luckily, it was a limb that was going to get cut off anyway eventually. So then I got deeper into the video, which showed inside the leaves, inside the structure, the cells of the plant. So what am giving the evidence, this is all just evidence. And I said to begin with, it's either created or random chance unguided processes.
But that
Worked
was
on
kind of the whole thing, is you're showing that there's a mechanism at work here that's very complex, right?
correct.
Okay.
And then that's when Claude and I got into it with the inside of the cells. And now they were seeing it's microscopic. And then we saw little machines and that are creating the energy. And then so the last argument, finish this thing up, is he said that was proof for evolution. There's no proof in there for evolution, creation, whatever. There is just little parts to the inside of a cell on a plant. And this happened to be a redwood tree, which I could show you guys real quick, which is cool. Another cool design. So redwood tree, tallest tree in the world. Hopefully I can get in focus. This is a redwood root. And if you see this, and you wouldn't really tell, but it's not straight, isn't it? And actually, if you look at it, it's actually corkscrewed, which means, I've seen some, dang, they're like huge, like 150 foot redwood, and the roots are huge, and they're also corkscrewed. And if you want to see a design,
Real
they
quick,
are.
is it okay if I chime in real quick?
Yes.
Two things. One, Robin's comment is funny because it says probably probabilistic, which I thought was funny. But two, it almost seems to me as though she is alluding to Lamarckian evolution. Robin, please comment in the chat if you believe in Lamarckian evolution.
Which is, because I'd tell you, but I want to make Christian look smart. Ha ha ha.
It takes a lot.
Okay. You guys do your own homework. I don't have the time, and Christian doesn't want to explain it to you
Oh, I'll explain
either.
it. I'm sorry. Lamarck was a contemporary of Darwin that had a slightly different belief about mutations. He felt as though there was something inside the animal that produced mutations as needed, whereas
Oh,
Darwin felt like they were random. And so the idea of Lamarckian evolution is that mutations are produced as needed.
ooh. So again, that's even more complex, but true. So actually, if you look at this root, though, what it's doing in the twisting is has to be pre-programmed. And then just by chance, though, these are the roots that hold up the tallest tree in the world. 100, I don't know how, I think one so it was a couple hundred feet. Don't quote me, look it up. Redwood tree, Sequoia sempervirens, the largest, tallest tree in the world. It has to be held up pretty securely. And so what happens in these
Don't
twists,
worry, Dan. I'm sure those acorns are in the mail, right?
they're redwood seeds and they're redwood cones. Bum, I got to teach you. So, but the cell structure then, and with the Brandon. Hello, Brandon. So the cells then are either there's more cells on the outside, because you imagine with a twist, there's either less cells on the inside of it, or the cells are the same amount, but the top ones are elongated. Either way, how does the tree know? There has to be, this is not a random. This is a pre-programmed phenomenon that allows all the cells on one side either to have more of them or they're more elongated to get a twist in the root. And it just happens to be the tree in nature that really needed it. So that was cool. Any other questions? Oh, did Robin answer yet? So
yeah, but I think that her computer died in her truck crash or something based upon the
no,
answer.
stop that.
Well, no,
No,
what it was
no
is
crash.
she waits for deliveries from massive airplanes to drop off milk to different destinations, and all the planes have been grounded because of aviation failure. So she's currently milkless, and it's really hurting the Amish communities. We're going to end up having to do a government bailout for the Amish.
Yeah, what the heck, Robin? You don't care about the Amish?
No, she said
Robin, no
don't
offense,
drink.
but you're being selfish.
What the
I
heck?
know.
It's not even that many
Nobody
Amish left.
Nobody will know if she takes one of those milk trucks and brings it over here. All I want's like a gallon, but you can bring that whole 50, 500,000 gallons. Or I don't know how many, probably a lot. Nope, not that much. Sorry. My calculations are off. I'm not using math today, just like I wasn't with the beaver dam. We were using actually design stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to be pulled into my just fantasy stuff. And Stephen, you sound so much like the evolutionist. That was a very nice story you made up from the
We don't
evidence.
have to use math, Dan. We're creationists. God did it.
Exactly. Oh, that's what we were. Come on. Let me see. So we have the evidence, what we can see with our eyes. Then the video we just showed, awesome, reconstructed by the California Academy of Make Believe Maker Uppers, fantasizers. And then, because again, the
And
evidence.
while we have Christian on the hot seat, I'd like to know just exactly how much of that he's responsible for, directly or
Oh,
indirectly.
most. Yeah, 70% plus.
His micro cartooning. Okay. No, I think they were all evolutionists because they're the best at fantasies and communications. Let's see if I had
I know
some.
that guy who came up with Pokemon was an evolutionist.
That I will not debate you on that one. Is that all I had? So I think that was the presentation.
Well, I'm convinced, Dan. I don't know what the subject matter was, but I agree with you.
So of course you would. The check's already been cashed. I saw that.
Evidently.
And I don't want to come to have to take it out of your hide.
Mm.
Anyway, where are we? I wanted to show that again. I'm just gonna put up the picture of the video so we can discuss, just where do we go? Inside a leaf. And let's go to
Stonehenge. The proof that the Druids were right all along.
I heard I don't know if it's new, but they said that is. Come on, get out of there. I don't like your big words.
Did you guys do a show about Mormons the other day?
Yesterday, somebody else, started a show after us. So
Yeah, you took half my viewers.
we only had 2, so I don't know what.
Sorry, that wasn't intentional. So the guy who came and talked to us is a childhood friend of mine who converted from Pentecostal to Mormonism. So
That's an
that
interesting
was
conversion.
I know. So he came on yesterday, and that was the only time frame he had available. And Saturdays are now my only open YouTube day, so we just had to do it then.
Oh, so basically, like, you guys hate me is what you're saying?
No, far from it. Like, if I hate anybody, I don't know, it's Robin, because she won't come on here and talk to us. She came on once for our 24-hour show, which was awesome, and she's just left us hanging since then.
She hates the Amish too.
Yeah, no, I think it would be straight from the president, revenge that somebody started doing their shows right during my
Look,
designer
let me
show
explain.
that I had on
Let me explain.
Sundays since June.
Let me explain.
Oh,
I
sorry.
was going to do it tonight, but I had to travel to be at a church, and I wasn't sure what time I'd get home, so I moved it to yesterday evening. And the truth is, I got home plenty of time.
Well, I don't care. I'd rather you take up Steven's show than mine.
Yeah, I
didn't
can
say
respect that.
Nope, nobody heard
No,
that.
what a come on. We
No,
were
it is
just
funny, though.
healing. Why don't you take up a show of one of our newer guys?
I feel like you guys took half my viewers, and then Tim and them took like 25% of my viewers, and it was just like me, Logan, and Deviant.
Don't feel bad. I think Tim and them took like an eighth of our viewers. They took all of our really dogmatic Baptist viewers. They had choices now, so they were like,
He
"Oh,
said
we're
they had a
leaving.
choice.
We're leaving you guys. You are not Baptist enough for us." So I'm
Well,
glad they're doing what they're doing over
Our
there. It's
viewers don't
different
have a
style.
choice. They're there against their will.
Right.
yes.
Gigi's viewers, though, you got to be like, blink twice if you're okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have all Calvinistic viewers, so they're there against their will.
Oh yeah.
So Very cool. But look at these things, and if we saw again, these are microscopic machines. These are producing energy from the sun, and so here, all we have is just evidence. This is not evidence for design, not evidence for not design, not evidence for creator, against creator. We are just seeing what is in the microscopic realm of biology. Now, then you just have two choices. This is created, designed structure.
Robin's out here asking the real questions.
Oh, yeah, why don't you post those up? Where's my tech guy? Hi, Robin. Sorry.
What do you want, Dan?
Well, whatever Robin's questions are.
Oh,
Or anyways,
my bad. Okay, she loves your beaver video. She said, PP, I am full of milk. Well, now we know who's responsible for the milk sabotage plane scenario.
Yeah.
And she said, that is not what evolution thinks. And so you are arguing against a strongman version.
Oh,
And then she said, did y'all talk about magic underwear?
That's the one.
We
Yeah.
didn't talk about magic underwear. We were really about to get into Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, and those are honestly each whole episodes themselves, so that kind of ate into a lot of our time.
The Garden of Eden was in Missouri, though.
Well, first it was in, I think, Illinois, and then it was in Missouri, and then it was in Utah, or maybe it was Missouri first. And
I know they said at one time it was Missouri.
well, no,
It's
and that
two
was
places.
actually, that was a prophecy from God through the prophet that it was Missouri was the new Zion. So unless God changed his mind on that prophecy, and actually the temple is built there because it was supposed to be built within Joseph Smith's lifetime. So it's probably kind of like the Jehovah's Witness that said Jesus came back, but nobody knew it. It was a secret. Secret return. And the Mormons, since God prophesied, and they're following a prophet that we know had to be 100% accurate in his prophecies, not his life. God used flawed people, but it was prophesied. And you can look up false prophecies or failed prophecies of Joseph Smith, that the temple was to be built, the new Jerusalem, in Missouri, I believe. You can look at where exactly it was because Stephen just confused me with all the places, but I believe it was Missouri.
From
And the
Pentecostal
people,
to Mormon.
yeah,
You know
that's
what, Dan? Just for that, I'm going to talk to all the Mormons and make sure you never make it into the celestial heaven. You'll be lucky to make it into the telestial heaven, sir, and don't even
Rough.
think about the terrestrial heaven.
no,
Mm.
and
Not in it.
actually, no. I've been told that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be on the lowest. I didn't want to tell him that I'd only be able to see him like through the clouds if he's up in the first heaven, because I'm on the bottom one, because I actually preach things that would kind of show that the prophet was false,
Doing
and
the Book of Abraham.
that makes me on the bottom. Well, just the one, and my favorite, and I'll say that now because he's not listening, hopefully, is that the prophecy to of polygamy. It said, "Thus saith the Lord," which they say that, and because they're from God, so that's how he said it in the King James version. So that's how God would say it today when he was alive. But that the prophecy came from God to Emma Smith. Now you think God would have not respected persons,
He
but
said it came to Emma Smith.
it came to Emma Smith. Come on, don't laugh.
And Dan, if I can, the biggest problem with Joseph Smith's plural marriages, it's not just the fact that he had multiple wives, it's that some of his wives were 14 years old, which they know that it was consummated, and some of his wives, I think 7 of them, were already married to other men who followed Joseph Smith. In some cases, the husbands never knew that they remarried Joseph Smith. So that's not just plural marriage, that's active adultery. So
Got
I don't
him.
yeah, I don't know how they could qualify him as a prophet. Like, he was living in adultery and
Well,
promoting it as God-given prophecy.
the same way the Muslims do with Muhammad. It is, and even Muhammad, give him credit, he thought he had voices from demonic spirits, and it was his either wife or mother, a couple of women in his life that told him, no, that wasn't demonic. That was actually God talking to you. And so, and they, yeah. So anyway, back to the topic. So, and actually, yeah, you look at these little guys that are taking sunlight, rays of sunlight, and then going through these they're machines like whatever they are, made out of basic building blocks of life, and they take in sun and give out energy so that the whole cell works. This is just craziness. Now, here at Proverbs Guys Ministries, we give a choice to people that we just show the evidence. Now, you can say, and I would, Robin, did she answer that about the evolution? You can correct me. And plus, again, there's no 100% consensus on the meaning of a species, meaning of life, all these type of things, what evolution is. And so they're just evidence. And then scientists have their conclusions of what would cause that. What was the best cause? So in our study today, we saw the amazing, what we can see with our eyes on the outside of a tree, then going into the leaves, into the microscopic, even more complex. So then to have that, though, what caused that? Now, and you can say, well, and we had Claude, and that's why I really appreciate he was here to tell us that, well, because the California Academy of Scientists said that everything came from evolution, which means, and correct me, I think the most used definition, mutations are random, that there is really no direction where that mutation is going to happen. It just randomly happens. It's not directed. It's just chance, because it's not going to be like next Tuesday at 3:00. There's going to be a mutation. Random chance, unguided mutations. They give this change within one organism, one part, one machine part, one cell, one person, one animal, one plant. And then through reproduction and natural selection, that will go into the community at large. So, like, we have the one mutation that they have come up with. I'll just trust them it was a mutation and not something held in genetics that was locked up by the epigenetics and released. But let's say lactose tolerance started in Europe, that enabled the human body to digest milk. So we're going to
Did
see
you just
that.
say
Like,
lactose intolerance started
oh,
in Europe?
sorry, tolerance.
But you said lactose intolerance started in
Thank you.
Europe?
Thank you. No.
Is this like when you said AIDS was because of atheism?
I'd never said that. No. I think it's easier to get no, we won't. No, forget that. Stop it. Stop encouraging me.
Damn, you were too easy to bait. I'm sorry. Bad Steven.
And that was fun. We were having fun. Claude said we were having fun here. So, best definition I've heard. You can correct me, because that's not a straw man. Unless you come up with, then Christian was saying the one that the belief system that they weren't random, that mutations happened because the organism needed it. Is that what you said, Christian?
Wait, so I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Pay attention.
I'm sorry. I got people here. What'd you say?
Oh, hi, people. No, the type of mutation that is not random, that it just happened. What was the guy's
Oh,
name?
there's an alternative theory that's not very popular called Lamarckian evolution that suggests, I don't know the details of it, but it suggests that mutations are produced as needed.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's why I was just repeating what I understand as the mainstream mechanism for evolution, which would be the random chance, unguided, and over deep time too. It's not fast. It's slow process. I always forget the slow process part because that's a big chunk too. That you have to have small increments, and we can show that picture again, and then so another part, which I always forget to add in, but it's really important, that this happened over a long period of time, that these mutations that made the right number of little power plants, because if you have too many power plants, too many converters of sun rays to energy, you got too much energy, you're plugging up the cell, you're going to actually block the light coming in. Again, then the cells we saw earlier in the video were transparent. Ding, ding, ding. That appears designed, but it was just a random chance mutation somewhere along the line. So does that mean that when photosynthesis, then we got to design this, we got to figure out, we got to cut it apart, we got to put it into pieces. We're going to re-engineer this thing like somebody who would want what you came up with, what you made in humanity. They want to steal it, recreate it, so they can steal your secrets. Let's steal these secrets. So you got to figure out, okay, so let's go back to the first ones. They say is algae's in the water that came from then the first life. Then the first life had to have power cells in them, because one thing you need in a cell, any life, is power, is energy. So you had to have that with the original one. And we won't say that it's as complex as these little guys in these plants or in animals now, but let's imagine something simpler that is going to convert. And then so plants use the sun, the animal life uses stuff that we digest, then to create that and change it into energy, break it down into basic parts that then our bodies can use. So if you look at this, scratch your head, people. So this is the Darwin of the gaps, because we do not have sufficient. Where's the mutation then from?
Did you just say Darwin of the gaps?
I did.
That's a really funny phrase.
Well, because it's now, and that not because we're neo-Darwinistic now, and we have genetics now. So, but that's kind of because they kind of lift him up too much. I agree with you, Christian, that him finding the natural selection thing, which I think we all agree with that, is that if you have the bigger, or Robin, thank you very much. She did the ones that now the elephants now are having smaller tusks. Well, naturally, you would have big tusks. Those guys are going to get the girls, make the babies. Now you had so many poachers, and Robin was explaining how then all the big tusk guys are dying out, and then the guys with the smaller tusks, which would have less selective breeding processes, and now there's more elephants with smaller tusks. So we do know that natural selection works in changing in the small e evolution changes. But then see the jump is, and people say it's like, well, what's the barrier to stop this plant cell here having an ancestor that was earlier? And the real question is what is the mechanisms that would change and how could you have a simpler plant cell than what we do have today? Because even the simpler, they call simpler life forms, they still have minimum 200 genes, which and when brought down, you have to have reproduction, you have to have the more of a programming. I'll use man terms, but you go into the non-materialistic vocabulary, but you have to have something that regulates. Now, in modern, we know that we have the DNA, billions of characters, and then over top of that, we have they say, I've never looked at them. I'm trusting the scientists that there are epigenetics that will actually control. So again, I use the example that when the baby is in the womb, there is codons, they're called, that will start the production of certain cells. And then at a point, can you keep that up so I can, sorry, Stephen, I'll get to that, or you can put it up when I say it, or when I get to it. But you have a like a program that starts the development of the new cells. Say that when I don't know, so I'm starting the heart from no heart in that baby to having a heart inside the mom's womb. There's a little start-stop switches, because otherwise, if you're creating that DNA doesn't know how to stop putting cells into that heart, it doesn't know, it's just putting parts together. There's something called epigenetics above the genetics that's actually going to stop it, so that if there weren't in there, the heart of that baby when it was developed wouldn't stop. It would just explode out of the mother, because you got a 20-pound heart now. And that, again, is not explained in the evolutionary process, because I think Richard Dawkins, he said and he used the example of, like, he thought and used, and that was a straw man, Robin, that he said, oh, well, if there's a God, he had to be created. And then who created him and who created him for eternity?
Was this during that elevator incident you talked about that one time?
Shut it. No, we can all agree afterwards that Richard Dawkins has his own morals, that if I would have kept him away from my daughters, to put it nicely. So, and you're just trying to get me off. Where was I? Oh, Richard Dawkins. That and I won't use him because I know you don't like, he's been tainted from you, Robin, but into his biology though. But because he's was one of the leaders, and that that thinking that God had to be created was more complex than to think it just happened by random chance, unguided processes, and that's biology. But then you have to get the bigger picture, that the universe, everything, chemical, all the stuff that came into existence that wasn't there prior in that form, it was easier to explain it by, it was just like it just happened without the creator. But when actually Christians heard that, like most of the straw mans that come out, like Spaghetti Monster or whatever, Magic Man in the Sky, it's very easy to, oh yeah, you can get rid of that picture now. But I just think it's kind of cool. Looks like a rug, to think that's little machines. So that as we look at it, that God, whatever created, so the cause of the universe, that's what science is, give you evidence, and then we got to figure out what the best cause is for the evidence we have. And if you look at it like Richard Dawkins and biologists, I'll put other, and evolutionists, that God was a more complex explanation, cause to the evidence. But then when you figure, whoa, no, if it's the creation of time, space, and matter by logical inference, whatever created if it created the universe, had to be outside time, space, and matter, which is what a God, a true God is, not man-made God. And then then on the other side, though, which evolutionists don't explain, is that what created time, space, and matter had to be outside of time, space, and matter. And then that's even more complex, figuring out how did you combine everything.
Which came first, Dan, the elements or the stars?
And then even farther back, though, you had the energy. Well, what caused the energy? And then they go into eternal, and some of them, there's others, but correct me if there's a more popular one, that that it could be that it's an eternal state of great expansion.
I think one of the more
Oh,
popular
great
theories
expansion.
now is that the Big Bang was caused by a series of dwarf bangs. And the other popular theory, and Christian, you can feel free to add, well, he can't now because he left, but I think the other popular theory is multiverses they're working with now
Yes.
because they've kind of
Yes.
cornered themselves into a bad corner.
And there's still people throwing out the one, and I don't know how many popular, but it's because there isn't a unified, is that the universe was just eternal and it never really did get, because what we have is expansion. And scientifically, mathematically, well, if you had it expanding, then you can go all the way back to this minute.
Dan, when we started Proverbs Guys 3 years ago, we were talking about the current consensus, which was that the world was 4+ billion years old, and we
Well, it
were
is.
making fun of how they keep doubling it.
No,
And
they wouldn't do that.
Just in these 3 years, Dan, it went from 4 billion to 14 billion. They added 10 billion years in the last 3 years that we've had this ministry.
That must have been the theist evolutionists. No respectable atheistic evolutionists would keep on adding time because the science, we got to follow the science. Are you telling me, and theists can be wrong, but you're telling me that atheist scientists messed up by only like 15 trillion or billion, what is it, trillion years?
No, it's 14 something billion years now.
It's 14 something billion.
Yeah.
That's I do that with my, you know what? Before Gemma took over my checking, I did that all the time. It's like, but I'd usually underestimate how much I had into my checking account, and I would spend a lot more. So if evolution, if I was a true scientist, I would have been able to expand the amount of money in my account because they're expanding, I guess, the amount of time it took. But again, deep time, again, is a losing proposition. Saying that, that Richard Dawkins, and that was only, 15, 20 years ago, wrote the book and saying how, and he was a leader. He had kind of the consensus. I don't think too many people, because he was part of the leadership of the movement, but that God was a more complex, not that he just, okay, no, I can't say God, but God is a more complex, more complicated explanation as the cause of what we see. So, and I wish Claude was still here because it's like, dude, science has changed. He should have known that since even the 1960s, 70s, when I was in school, it's nothing the same. And again, we'll go to it. Miller Urey, anybody out there want to come on in and give your opinion? I'd really, really like to hear it because these things aren't being shown wrong. So what I showed you there with the plants, with the trees, is an easier explanation that cause was random chance unguided mutations worked on by natural selection, or Robin, who said that there's the theory that when stress comes on, I'm just kind of adding to it because they always do, that if there's stress on our community, then I'm going to mutate and then but see, that's again, by the time it gets into the community, you're not any longer going to need that. And then the problem is, and we see the tree, the Darwin tree, they don't have anything at the joints. They just, here's your tree, you have your animals, you have, the humans, you have, and I don't have them offhand, not even on hand. And you have here's the apes, here's the humans, this is the branch coming off. And it's like, but we don't have the connections. No connections. Oh, well, the ape, he used to be the chimpanzee used to be the little brother from Ancestry. And it's like, no. It's actually, he was just a cousin. Somebody else was in between. And it's like, as we get going on that, that doesn't seem slow and gradual. You're talking about they're measuring the brain sizes between these creatures. So you'd have to have thousands in between each of these to make a gradual, slow gradual, unless you're telling me that a mutation, which is again against, because we did have that theory because scientists said this doesn't work. We have the gap theory, so that all of a sudden, and they went, I mean, I'm not going to do the kind of the funny one of that out of an egg came a dog. So no, but they would have said that there would have been bigger jumps. Like with the Cambrian layer, you had most all of the body types. You had legs already. You had compound eyes. You had exoskeletons, and then they were all there within this 120 million years. Correct me, guys, in the comments. The exact years of the Cambrian explosion, because that's not slow or gradual. So any step through there, that blows it out of the water and go, well, give us a better theory. The better cause is creation then. If you see a mass of different body types within 120 million years, 500 million years, whatever it is, which is a slow, short time, that's a second in the time frame of billions of years, you have all the body parts popping into existence. You got to have a lot of faith. A lot of faith. Now, of course, we here at Proverbs Guys would say that is just the creatures that got trapped there during the flood. I may be wrong, my thing. And with Proverbs Guys Ministries, we believe in Christ and Him crucified. We believe Christ is the creator of the universe. We believe that what the Bible says on this Genesis is pretty accurate to what it is. If I found out and God told me, like, Dan, that word was not what you're saying it is, that wouldn't hurt my faith, though. Maybe instead of 6,000 years, like somebody say, well, it's 50,000 years or 100,000 years. You know, I still go with the 6,000 years. Doesn't hurt my faith. Doesn't hurt the evidence, because your view as a deep time evolutionist is not credible, because it's not slow and gradual. Take that on a painting, they'll this process, or you can look at some of the videos that Missing Maud did on her gorgeous artwork, that she would put a little bit of paint and then spin it or do other techniques to make these beautiful, look like a galaxy or just some awesome artwork. But it didn't come at once. It was a process to do that, and she showed us how, and it was like totally cool. And I'm still waiting for my picture. I'll give you my address. And just joking. But we can't just be closed-minded. We've got to look at the evidence and say what it is. Gigi, what do you think?
Yeah. How are you today, little guy?
I'm doing good. Did I make any sense at all?
Yeah. Do you make any dollars?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No. But
Maud's
if
doing a
somebody
show.
wants, what's that?
Maud's doing a show tomorrow.
Yeah, what time?
Oh, it's the same old, same old.
That's
But
9 o'clock my time? Noon?
yeah, but I think she's gonna be taking some time off after that. I think.
Yeah, well, I told her I'd try to come and support her. I put my alarm on for 8 o'clock because I knew it was after that. So, yeah, I've been praying for her. And that's the cool thing, too, that in design, in godless evolution, or even a God that takes off, he started it and left, not a caring God. I've never met Missing Maud. Why should she, there's, again, even that simple relationships, or you, Mr. Gangster, is that why would I care about you? Oh, well, you're part of my herd. You're not even close to me. You're probably part of an enemy herd or an enemy tribe. You're trying to take over California. You can have it.
I
No,
don't
it's
believe. Oh, sorry.
you're trying to say that chemicals in our brains evolved by random chance, unguided processes worked on by natural selection. That sticks me to the point that I got to care somebody that's never given me a dollar. Have you ever given me a dollar, Gigi?
Uh,
If you
I don't
did, I
have a.
didn't get it.
Oh,
If you sent me a dollar, dang it, next time do it secured because I didn't get it.
oh,
You know,
I don't have a dollar.
and you know what? I'm in Northern California. I've got tons of people around. I don't have to and then see welcome Rob. Hello Rob. Uh-oh, we got breathing Rob. Keep talking. If you're on a cell phone, you might want to go back out, come back in. And random chance, unguided processes might get you in here because we got to help. Um, you can you say something, Rob? Here, I'm going to take you off screen. Just don't go anywhere. I'll see if I can talk to you backstage. Gigi is going to sing us a song to entertain while I do that. All right,
Okay.
Gigi, go.
Uh, uh, Dane the man dancing lane. Dane the man dancing lane. Dane the man. Dane the man. Oh, sorry. Who is it? Who was it? Can't hear you. That's like you muted.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, Robin.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you. Gigi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we all hear everybody? Hi,
I'm on
Robin.
my headset and I'm driving, so I don't know how good this will work.
You sounded better than Steven, so
Oh yeah, okay.
that's not hard though, right?
Sometimes my headset doesn't work very good on some of these things.
This is working awesome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I just Stephen did not know that I came on your show about the elephants that night. I guess. See,
I guess
we had a little.
no. We should put him in a corner or something.
I don't know about all that.
Now I
But
did recount. I did recount the story.
yeah, you did well. You did well. You actually presented it pretty good.
I try because
Yes.
you know, and that's why I love, you know, as a scientist myself, even though it's just a gardener.
But that's all right. I think you're good. You know a lot about plants. That's really cool.
Well, and it's about being open, just to give evidence. You know, like Claude said, I don't know if you got to see that video. It's a real cool video where the California Academy of Scientists did one of those little. I like the ones that have voices and narration better, but they just had typing. That's why you had to suffer through my reading of it. But and it showed the inside micro or magnified tons to get down inside to see what the inside of a plant cell looks like, the little machines and all that. And so that's not evidence of anything. That's just evidence of what is inside of a plant cell. So then
Mm-hmm.
as humans, we can look at that and think, okay, that could have had many small changes over time to get from, you know, the precursor before algae to the plant, and or it was designed, created. So that's it. I mean, you know, it's not like, yeah, you're wrong because you're an idiot because you're that. No, it's we have individual minds that will take that evidence and you say, okay, I like myself, I don't see how that could happen by random chance, unguided, or even partially guided, because it's over a long time, which I always forget to say. So it's not just, comes in, it has to be like millions of years. And then you have billions of changes within creatures that happened in that time. And, that's a lot of changes happening in the system. I don't know. It's just too complex for me, or to say that the simplest, for me, the simplest explanation of what I see, the cause of it, would be a creator designer. And not saying
Well, what
who
I
is. Yeah.
okay, sorry,
No,
I
you're
thought
good.
you done. Well, what I was commenting about was not really arguing with you. I was trying to lay out what the actual claims that evolution makes, and so you could confront them and not create like it builds a bigger, a stronger argument that you're making when you're not straw manning evolution and arguing against your straw man. Is what I was trying to say.
No,
So
exactly. And that's why.
evolution doesn't claim that mutations are random. It claims that they are probabilistic. Now, so that's one claim right there. And the guided process that it claims is natural selection and
Correct.
genetic drift, and there's different things like that.
But those are smaller, right? Mainly is
Well, they affect certain populations, and certain, and not just generally. I mean, they're not a general process, but natural selection is considered the main, process, which is not unguided. I mean, natural selection is. I mean, selection is not unguided. Is what I'm trying to say.
right. But can you explain though the mutation part? You said that it's not random.
Probabilistic.
And what is that?
Well,
I can look it up, but
it's like the odds. Like it's I don't know how to describe it. It's like if so many attempts at something, eventually it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how. But and evolution has nothing to do with cosmology. Like the planet, the age of the Earth, and the age of the universe has nothing to do with evolution. Nothing. Evolution makes no claims about that, other than what they claim are the age of fossils. I'm just trying to help you, because it makes a better argument, and it makes a more it makes a respectable argument when you arguing against the actual claims that the evolution makes. Does that make sense?
no, exactly, because I'm just looking it up. And of course, sorry people, this is just the Google. It may be wrong, but it sounds like what you're saying. The idea that mutations occur randomly across a genome is widely accepted, but recent research suggests that mutations are not completely random. The idea that mutations occur randomly means that the likelihood of a mutation happening is not related to how useful that mutation would be. However, factors like nucleotide composition and DNA repair can influence the likelihood of a mutation occurring at a specific location. Selection can also, well, that's selection, but that's after the mutation, no matter who. Environmental factors like exposure to harmful chemicals can increase the rate of mutation. We've seen that in like the fruit flies. I don't know if the bacteria too, but I know that happens in the fruit flies where they get
Who's
some
typing?
Really...
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I thought, I didn't want to interrupt you. It was like, you're in a milk truck. I don't think it's you. Yeah.
No, I try not to type. Although I was doing speech to text while ago, and that's why some of those comments made no sense whatsoever. I hate it. My voice. I guess I've got such a country twang.
Yeah, that happens to Dan a lot too.
That it does. It's really funny because sometimes it says some, but again, it's just again a way people use to do fallacious arguments. I'm not going to listen to Robin on her definition of this because her she didn't edit her text, and most of the time, most of my bloops on text, people are actually correcting, going, "Well, Dan, you should have said." Da 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 da, which means they understood what I was saying, but again, fallaciously trying to shut me up. They're trying to, oh, Dan used the wrong word, deduct,
Nitpicking,
deduce. They're
nitpicking at
nitpicking
you.
because, and that's the funny thing, and that's why I love this forum of live stuff along with the text. The live though, because then you can hear somebody go, "Well, Dan, you should have said deduced instead of deduct when you said this sentence." Well, then you understood what I said. You're just interrupting me with useless. Then, like I told him, it's like, if you didn't understand, they say, "What do you say, Dan?" Like I said with Claude earlier, he was reading something and I didn't understand it, so I tried to stop him, say, "Well, what did he say?" And then to then say, "Okay," to figure out what the sentence is. But if I would have known what they meant, even though if I didn't know that word directly, I wouldn't have had to ask him. So
Yeah.
it just shows
Well, I
that.
wasn't correcting you for the sake of correcting you. I was just correcting you so you could build a better argument.
No, thank you. No, and I even if you were doing it negatively, I still want to have the newest, because it does say now that what I just read again, just a Google thing, that the what I said was, and it sounds like, I don't know. It says that it's widely accepted, but recent research suggests that what you add, and so that's great. It's just something I hadn't seen yet. But that the mutation are not completely random. Now, I did hear a thing, and that might be it, is that random, as in
Okay, thank you.
there are points in the genetics that a mutation is more likely to happen. So it's not totally random because it's not gonna happen on every part of the genetics. So in
Yes.
that case, that but it's still in a big wide range,
And
and
there's a good chance that the mutation will not benefit the organism at all. You know what I mean? Like most mutations are just eat nothing. They don't help or hurt the organism. However, some do hurt it, and some help it.
yeah,
Probably
I
very
think
small.
yeah. Well, though the thing I heard was like 10% that can help. Even that you can't even say positive anymore because I don't know. So help might be a better word. 10% that will be helpful used to be called beneficial or positive mutations. 10% that is not helpful or can kill or harm the organism, and
Yeah.
about 80-90% is just neutral things. Now, one thing
Yes.
I did hear is that the neutrals that our genetics have a certain percent more than our parents did, that it's just neutral stuff, and some diseases are caused because we have so much just stuff floating around. Doesn't harm, doesn't add to it, but it clogs up the system. Um,
I don't know about that. I don't know. I can't say that I can speak on that. I don't know.
yeah, and that's
Um,
why I just put it out there. I have not. I've just heard
there
that.
are some there are some mutations that are what they call ride along that actually, I mean, they ended up coming along with a mutation that is supposed to have been beneficial, and they really were not beneficial or harmful, and so they just rode along. Like they came in the organism. They stayed with the organism because they were on another along with another mutation. I don't know how to describe that, but they're called ride-alongs.
Yeah, so it just, but which I think is more evidence for my position that the more that we find, the more science comes up with new stuff. It's getting more complex, not less. So and the example of of Darwin and his time, not no fault of his own, I mean, it was known, not known. They didn't have microscopes, so a cell looked like it was just jello, and so you wouldn't really have to have put it in the theory because it was, that could have been easily done. The more we looked into the cell, got down to the electron size, which is the smallest particle. I think, no, I think there's even smaller now, but it was the smallest part. But there again, science keeps.
Quarks are the smallest particles.
Yes,
Quarks.
yeah. See, I corrected myself because that was old. That was old school. But that science is showing more and more complex structure, systems, material, and that, like, the scientists say, you go to the easiest explanation, the easiest thing that would cause what we see, and something that isn't directed is a lot more to me. And that's where we take this evidence and say, I think the cause, if a creator caused it, is less complicated than everything we see happening without direction. And
Well, I
so
think
that's,
the main reason why a lot of people reject the creator thing is because you're proposing a entity, but you're not proposing how they did it. Like, it's not an explanation of how. It's an explanation of who, which is not a question that science actually even tries to answer, because the who, they don't. It's like, science is supposed to explain how things happen, and when you say God did it, there is no explanation on how, though. Do you understand what I'm saying?
well, yeah, but
And
we
that's
don't
what
have the
that's
hows. Science doesn't give the hows anyway. To say
well, that's
that,
what it tries to do. Yes, it tries to explain how things happen.
um,
I mean, that's like, that's what their goal is, to try to explain the how. What
like,
mechanisms was used to do this? What mechanisms were in play? What
Right.
what processes? And so when you just propose a creator, but you're not given a how, you're not given processes that the creator used to create with, and so it's not scientific because it doesn't answer the how.
well, no, isn't that kind of like the cause? What causes it?
Well,
The how being cause, or is that different?
well, no, because that's still not a mechanism. Like, the processes that God used to create, that's what science would be looking for. What processes were in play for that?
And then on that, how though? So where right now we, and not biology, but just how everything happened, is that abiogenesis, and we know what chemicals are there. We know what early Earth is. We know that the chemical processes, which by kind of like magnets, its attractions will connect different particles, different chemicals, create um, bigger, like proteins or whatever it is. So we know what
Yeah, you
those
got
are,
chemical reactions. Is that
chemical
what you're trying to?
reactions, but there's
Yes.
nothing to stop those chemical reactions. So, like in creating the cell, the any part of it, I don't know, the when you
Well,
do a protein.
abiogenesis is still fairly well unknown. I mean, they have not. They have several different, proposals of how, of like, they've been able to create nucleotides and stuff like that in the lab, I think, but they don't know how it happened exactly, and probably will never know how, because we're not going to find any fossilized evidence of soft cell, making organisms. Like,
Yes.
they don't, because
So
what
on that,
becomes fossilized is the hard part of the
on the fossil.
Yeah,
But on that though, that you're saying that we'll never know the how. So does that take
I
it
said
out?
we probably never know how. I mean, we've got those several different. They've come up with several different mechanisms, like several different explanations in abiogenesis, from my understanding. I'm not a biologist or
Free biology.
abiogenesis either, but they've come up with several methods that it could have worked, but they don't know which one it was actually,
Well,
and it is very complex, and what I mean, and it seems very um it seems very hard to understand how it worked out like that.
yeah,
I
I
agree.
mean, and so, but when we do know what see these chemical things are, so we do know it couldn't have happened, say like in a deep sea vent, because some of the connections needed for life have to be in a cold temperature. So, and like you said, in the lab, they show, their actually what do they call it? Kind of like their directions, what they did, so they can prove they did it. But every one of them is talking about getting pure, um, basic materials that have been.
I don't know about this deep sea vent. I know that that is one of the proposals, is deep sea vents, and they also proposed that life began in in the ocean, or in the
In a
sea. So
pond
I don't
or I mean
know.
a tidal pole or some kind of thing. But then again, some of the basic chemicals of life need to have, say, a certain temperature, and those have to connect up with other, and it's basic the amino acids or whatever the basic ones are, and the sugars. They have to be in different temperatures. So if you created the one part of them and they're happy in that tide pool at 30, 40 degrees, whatever it is, because that'll keep them from just keep on changing
Ah,
to nothing. But then other ones need a real hot temperature, but they have to hook up together. So you got to imagine how you've got this little structure, amino acid, whatever building blocks that has to connect to something else. But it takes a cold temperature, hot temperature. So if you have a hot temperature, all those guys are going to be done. But if you have the cold temperature, you see what I'm saying is, and there's like hundreds of different ones needed.
yeah, I don't
Mm.
know. I don't know much about. I've never studied abiogenesis. I just take that from what I hear from other, um, you know, people who are more educated on it than I am.
Yeah,
I
you'd
just
probably You'd probably like, there was a discussion, debate, something from, a big Professor Dan, I think it was,
Dave, Professor Dave.
Professor Dave and, Doctor James Tours, and,
Yeah, that was pretty
Dave
rough.
yeah, Dave did one, and then, Doctor, what's his face? Tours did a 13-part one, then they had a debate, and then you got Dr. Tours out there still um, challenging then the scientists that Dave said that he did have. He talked to him, and he's challenged like, well, then come show me.
I don't. Dr.
No,
Tours though. Dr. Tour though. I think both of them. That was not a very good debate. There was a lot of name calling and screaming and hollering. And I know that Dr. Tour though is not a person who works with abiogenesis either. He is a chemical. Um,
synthesizer,
yeah,
so
synthetic chemist or something like that.
synthetic chemist.
And so the people who actually work in that field, I mean, they disagree with him, but that
Cor-
doesn't that doesn't mean he's wrong. But he doesn't really have the he doesn't have the education in that particular field to make it an argument. Really, I don't think. But I thought that they both kind of were bad behavior
Yeah,
in
he
that
did. I know.
debate.
You know, Professor Dave. He's just a YouTube guy. I think he got a really cool. Um, um, he got a
He used to
great.
teach school. He used to teach high school.
Yeah,
actually.
so that's
Please.
that's Kent Hovind level. So, and maybe even a little above Kent Hovind because he taught a public school. So, but you know, to say that then um, Dr. Torres, because what abiogenesis is natural synthetic chemistry. So all it is taking chemicals from nature and then combining that the nature combined them synthetic chemistry, but naturally. Where so Dr. James Torres and some of the and I believe pretty much I won't say all, but there's the abiogenesis guys are also synthetic chemists because they're coming up with how you would get chemicals combining a synthesis to make life.
Yeah, they've been working in the very sick, very specific area of doing tests to try to see if they can, if they can get life to come forward, out of non-life. And
Correct.
so, and Tour has not actually been trying to create life out of non-life. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know nothing much about abiogenesis. I know that life's here. So we
Correct.
obviously something happened.
And
Something led to us being here. It was either God or abiogenesis or some other process, whatever. We're
correct.
here. Yes.
And so, but
So
that's where Dr. Torres is able to take their papers where they say, okay, these chemicals came together. They're naturally existing chemicals, though. And like Dr. James Turr said, he can buy any of the stuff they're talking about. So he works with the stuff. So all he's doing is looking at their papers where they said, and so like on some of this stuff, like you're talking about, they'll actually take parts out of a living cell and then putting them in another cell. Well, that's not abiogenesis. That's parts
no,
apart. So Dr. Torres and what he does, and he's gone through the papers saying, okay, well, this chemical here, and you see their footnotes, they bought this stuff. So it's pure chemicals. So like you with the gasoline. So, you got this puddle of oil out there somewhere, or diesel for you, oil out there, and then you have to have it refined to get it to our fuels. Well, in life, it's even more complex that you need for putting together an amino acid or the sugars, the basic building blocks. You can't have junk with them. It has to be a pure, um, unpolluted batch. It's kind of like the Miller-Urey experiment that came out with the building blocks, some amino acids, but they had to take them out of the goop because if they would have left them in there, they would have then within hours or days no longer been amino acids. They'd be just basic chemicals again. So where Dr. Torres, and then until these abiogenesis people then come and tell him, instead of going, oh, he believes in creation. Well, no, he believes that God used some kind of um, natural process to do it in these things, but that what we have today is not going to get there. That this should just be wiped clean because they talk about the RNA. Well, he showed a thing where RNA, you can buy RNA, but it only lasts for a couple days. You have to keep it at like 2,000 degrees below zero or 45
well,
degrees.
we still have RNA in our mitochondria. Have
Correct.
RNA. I mean, the mitochondria of the cell has RNA in it. I mean,
Correct.
RNA is still found in cells. It's not sufficient to carry the genetic material that complex organisms require.
Exactly.
Our genetic code is very long and winding, and it's not sufficient to provide that. However, the smaller, the more simpler forms like that we think of like single celled and just multicellular, it may have been sufficient for that. And how it changed over to DNA is still a mystery. I mean, there's a lot we don't know. There is a lot we don't know. I will agree. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. But the
it's
chemical makeup of RNA will only stay around for a couple days. I mean, you can buy it in the lab. He showed actually the thing saying you've only got to, I don't know how many days before the iron RNA that your science lab will buy is going to be junk. So
well,
then you've got to,
but that's not, yeah, because but like in an organism though, it lasts longer. Like I said, we have RNA in our cells right now. Our mitochondria, which are the parts of our cell that make energy. You know,
correct.
yeah, they have RNA in them. That's what that's where it's at. So
And that's what I think, but it can't be alone. It still has to have either that or other things to keep it from in stasis, which means keep it RNA. If you just if
yes,
you but so you need the other things too. So you can't have RNA couldn't have started it life before you had the other things to keep the RNA alive, or not alive because it's not living. Sorry, to keep it functional. So that's their problem, is that first life would have had to have multiple things. And then they say, oh, well, it could have been a little capsule that stuff got into, could go in and out. But you still, for life, you have to have, it has to have food, it has to reproduce. And they go say, oh, well, it just reproduces inside of like a little clay, or I can't remember what they said, like a clay or some kind of natural capsule that actually happens in nature. But then when we look
well,
at
cells. I think that the ideal is that the first organisms were single-celled, um, organisms. They didn't have a nucleus yet. There was no nucleus. There was no, I mean, the mitochondria didn't. There wasn't no mitochondria there. None of that stuff was not. It was not like a modern cell. It was a very simple cell, and it actually became, multiplied by cell division. Like you just divided, just like a mutation caused it to divide. There wasn't no RNA in there, the way I understand it, and that then they started like hooking together, like the cells would hook together and create a multicellular being.
Uh,
And
uh,
correct, that's the theory, but still you have to have the power that cell, the first cell still had to have some kind of energy.
yeah,
The first
yeah,
cell
I agree.
still had to digest things. They had to take stuff in from the environment, be able to eat it, to change it into the power and energy. It also had to reproduce. So even though it's a division, is still dividing everything. It had to divide the power source, the simple digestive, we'll call it, system, taking stuff from the outside, an environment, and changing it to energy.
Energy,
The
yeah.
reproducing thing had to split, all this stuff. The cell had to split, and the lining, and so what
Hold on,
Satan.
Dan. I think Gigi had something to say.
Oh, JG.
Dan, sorry I have to go. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks for hanging out.
Bye.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
That's
but
fine.
I knew Gigi tried to get in there.
Oh no, good.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, because I heard something, but we gotta train him to actually say louder words so it doesn't sound just like his typing or something going on. But that's why we love GG, because he's just so polite and so not wanting to butt in. Now, the one I really have to train, and you can help me, is Christian Pike. He'll come in and just like hang out. It's like, I don't know about your family, Robin, but if I'm at the dinner table, I would have died. I was the fourth kid, because you just have to reach for stuff, man. You just have to eat. It's animalistic without mom and dad.
Christian Pike is awesome.
He is. But he's got,
He
because,
is
well,
awesome.
only because I've been accused of being a meanie because I don't let him speak. I've told him repeatedly, if you want to say something, just like everybody else, just like Gigi did there, I guess, you got to make a noise, or at least raise your hand or something. So I take no blame in that. But now actually it's better, because then I'll ask him, because if he's sitting there for a while, All right, Christian.
Christian is very very educated for a man of his state where he lives.
I hope he's listening. Yep, he's pretty good for one of those. I don't even know what they call them. Backwooders. Those
Yeah,
Okies.
Hicks.
One of those Hicks. Man. He's all no. See, I got the excuse. I was actually my horticulture teacher told me that Dan, you're a Bill Hilly. Now I wasn't from the hill. Well, I was kind of Occidental and Sebastopol's kind of hilly, but he goes, hillbillies are just lazy people, which ignorant people.
Oh, that's not true.
No, but he said Bill Hillies are the ones that work hard. So if you're a worker, you're really a Bill Hilly. He was from back there. You're not a hillbilly.
Listen to me, I'm a hillbilly.
No, so you're a worker. So you'd be a Bill Hilly.
No, I'm a hillbilly. Listen to my voice.
Yeah, no, but he said the definition you would be, since you're a hard worker, you're a Bill Hilly. I don't know where he get it. He came from the mountains over there. I have no clue. I'm a California kid that doesn't know much. So he would have, and he said it was a compliment because a lot of the stereotype types of hillbillies are that they're lazy, just sitting there. So he distinguished it.
That's not true, though.
Yeah. So, well, he would just call him different. He'd call him a Bill Hilly. I think he made it up, but it sounded good to me. Anyway. So now you're collecting.
Life is hard. Life is hard in that when you in the South. Life is hard, and you can't be lazy. You won't have anything. You have to work.
Well, there's exceptions. You got Christian Pike, with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he says he does work, but we know he just sits
He
there.
Works. He works. He builds stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I'll stop then because I was just teasing. It's fun to say he's a silver spoon when I can see what he's built, and yeah, but fun. Well, we run everybody else off with all our scientific.
I'm sorry.
No. I said we. You were probably the only one here left anyway. Yeah, I don't see any
probably me.
No, Robin. Usually people come when you're around because you are liked in both communities. Because of this, that you will actually.
Well, I tune into your show every chance I can.
Well,
I like listening to your show.
And that's why, and I was so thankful, and thanks for coming on because, and I do the same thing as like if somebody in the non-me community says stuff, I was like, well, no, you should say it this way because that's really not what we believe. And so that's awesome because yes, I just looked it up and this is a newer, I guess, explanation of mutation. So I'm going to work, and you'll see me work it in. That's why I always go with the Great Expansion when I'm talking to the Big Bang, because
yep,
those tricks,
right. That's what they say it is.
Yeah, so I want to use the right terminology so people are going, it's not really a Big Bang, it's an expansion. So if I just say expansion, because a lot of creationists, a lot of people will use that as a joke. Oh, it's a Big Bang. No, okay, no, let's use, and I like using the terminology. I want to argue against what is believed out there by the most. And thanks, Robin. You will help out my shows. Give me a thumbs down if I say random chance guided mutations again, and not say, and I'm going to have to look at that again so I can add that into it. The whatever word you used.
Probabilistic.
Let's say research said that mutations. Oh, see, and it was there somewhere. So I will look at that.
Probabilistic, yeah.
Probabilistic.
Like probability. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the word probability.
It's just one of those tongue twisters for me. Probabilistic.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say too, actually.
Yeah, see, you might be a hillbilly, a working hillbilly, a non-lazy hillbilly, because again, that is the stereotype. If we hear hillbilly in California, it means those lazy people, which it is really not. And And again, my horticulture teacher had actually different names for working and not working. But again, stereotypes that is not proper to do.
So you went to school for horticulture?
I did. I got a 2-year associate's degree of science, and just love to study, love it. That's
That's
why
awesome.
it was it's such a blessing because I didn't. The reason I did is my older brother went to he had like 10 years or 12 years in college to get his 4-year degree, and he finally ended up with horticulture. He got a 4-year bachelor's, and then he went into theatrical lighting and then never used it again. And so I did the 2-year, and I just loved it because I started because I was going into JC when he was going into 4-year college or into his switched his major. So he only had 2 more years to get his bachelor's.
So you did you have to take like to learn how to like do the you know did you have to take some sort of like planning class too, like to learn how to build the you know like you make whole systems like you know what I mean like
Right. So
landscapes,
it's
right?
landscape design. So a landscaper in California includes anything outside of doors. So besides, there's exceptions. We don't do high electrical. We can go low electrical, but we're not licensed to do 110 or 220 or higher. We can't do swimming pools. That's a separate license. Something else, I think. But anyway, I don't like to do
You can do
those.
like fish ponds or
I can do fish
waterfalls.
ponds, waterfalls. If you saw one of my videos, my
So did
channel.
you have to take a class for that to learn that?
No, no. So well, the design, yes. So just writing down on paper, a 24 by 36 inch paper, and you scale down and put in that residence, put in the features, driveway, whatever, walkways, and then garages, whatever, buildings, sheds, barns, and then add in new patios, new paths that people might want, structures like arbors or yeah, things like
I
that.
have no imagination like to plan stuff. Like you know what I mean, what I think stuff will look like later. I'm terrible at that. I just can't even and I think that's
Well,
really cool.
and that's the key. If I get over to your place, I can teach you, because what you got to do is what I like to do is like your new yard is go mostly we're going to see the outside from the inside, and your design is to give you um, pleasure and whatever you want. I recommend that you go back in the past and 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 look through magazines and stuff and see what kind of gives you happy feelings. Same thing we do with pictures in the house. You put up a picture that's going to give you a happy feeling. It's not going to be the time, the picture of your arm hanging because it broke, because that's probably not going to give you the best mental thing. So you go back wherever, even now or before, and things that, like one lady example, she always got her picture in front of this certain flower at Easter at grandma's house. I said, okay, you don't need anything else at your house besides those plants, because those, when they're blooming, you're going to be 8 years old at grandma's house. Other people, like with the Asian, they had a cool feeling with an Asian garden. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies because it's too neat for me to organize. It's like, I need a lot of focal points in mine. That's why a lot of mine I'll use like rusty stuff if you see some of my designs, because at 8, 12, 15, I was out in the redwoods. I'd run across some old truck that was just left there, probably because it died, and okay, we'll come get the parts. That was their parts car. But after 40 years, so you got a 1930s truck just all rusted away. So cool for me to see that all engrossed in plant life and cool. So all that type of stuff. My sister drives her crazy. She works in a dentist office. She likes the white walls. If you're an engineer, you probably want that.
Yeah.
And so, but what makes you feel better? Because I have so many times, and people, they come to their yard and like, we really don't like our landscape, and they just had it done. It's like, well, what don't you like? Picture, like, per plant, per rock. Somebody like, I don't like that rock. Somebody brought in rock that was not appealing to them. Like you, I don't know, naturally, if you brought in stones, you probably wouldn't want to bring in a desert looking stone because unless you had,
That's not gonna look good in Kentucky.
yeah. So, and then for you, what is pleasing to you? Like with me, another example with me, I almost drowned in our little river here. It's really like a creek for most places, Russian River, and I almost drowned in it. It doesn't give me a peaceful feeling. I love go there, play in the beach, go on, put a little canoe in it, but I'm always got this. This is not a nice place. But creeks, I love the little creeks because that's where I hung out at my grandma's place and my cousins in the redwoods. Just spending my time because nobody could bully me when I was out in the creek, and just seeing nature, seeing the salamanders, the pollywogs or whatever, and getting in touch with nature there.
The
And so that
crawdads.
well, we didn't have crawdads in that creek.
Oh, you didn't?
No, that was I don't know why we don't have crawdads out there because I love crawdads. We have those here, but that's more of a modern thing. Because even at the place that I did a lot of designs at, they have this little drainage thing, and every once in a while I could catch a crawdad. Then I'd bring it in in a bucket or something, and the kids would go crazy. I did one educational garden on how the cycle of life, and this dude, I actually brought some to a doughboy, and they were huge, and so I took one for a display to show how nature works. That they're gonna take apart and eat and decompose stuff that's in the creeks and the rivers. They're little cleaners. And one thing I will, man, that sucker, she was huge. She had baby eggs, and she actually can't open my thumb because I was showing the kids, hey, look how I'm like, whoa, I grabbed it wrong. And but it's just nature is so awesome. And so that type of stuff. And my mom, it was more than my mom, it's like just really, oh, look at that, look at we had king snakes, blue belly lizards, these little California.
I had a California king snake for a little while. It died. It choked on its mouse.
Oh, but aren't they awesome?
Yeah, it was really cool. Which I have a ball python too, and the ball python, they're not real like energetic. Like it just kind of curls up around your arm and stuff like that. But the king snake, the California king, was real like busy. Like when you held her, you had to like keep on moving your hands and
Yeah,
stuff.
she's gonna like climbing a rope.
Yeah, she was just like always moving around. But my daughter fed her her mouse because we got her when she was real tiny, and which she don't get very big anyway.
No.
The California didn't, and she got choked on her mouse somehow and died, and we weren't watching her long enough when she ate to catch it.
Yeah, because they're a beautiful thing. To think they'll eat rattlesnakes, obviously smaller rattlesnakes, but that crazy.
Yeah, we have big. See, like in Kentucky, we have huge king snakes. I mean, they're like massive. Oh my gosh, they're as big as like they get just as big as like the timber rattlers and stuff. They're huge.
Yeah, because we have just mainly here, and actually not in my area, but go about half an hour probably to the drier hills. We have the California rattlesnakes, and they don't get that big. Takes even the biggest one's not too good of a meal for people, but
yeah, the black snakes we have here, the king snakes we have here, they can. I mean, they don't have to be that big, but some of them get really big, and they'll be really big around, and they kill, of course, rattlers and the cottonmouth and stuff like that, and copperheads.
You guys got those ones?
Yes, we have cottonheads, copperheads, and cottonmouths.
Wow.
Which so one of the two was introduced to Kentucky in the land between the lakes area, and it was an indigenous. I don't remember which one it is. And the timber rattler, I think, was actually the one that was introduced. And
now
I can't remember why.
Somebody got away, or was it actually a bright thing from?
No, they did it on purpose, like just like maybe there wasn't a predator for certain things, that they were having an issue with.
Yeah, let's get. There's too many dogs around my house. Let's get crocodile or alligators introduced
Too
here.
many chickens, I guess. But yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember. Land Between the Lakes is like a great big animal sanctuary. Like, I mean, they allow hunting in there certain times. They give away like allow like a lottery for hunting deer and stuff, but they don't. Normally, mostly everything's just there's nothing gonna happen in there. So
Oh, funny, yeah, man. Now I'm sorry. You might be for it. The one that really gets me is reintroducing wolves into Yellowstone Park, and it just crazy. And I know, I'm wrong way. I know their thought is like, oh, they're pretty little doggies, and they're taking out the deer. Then and it's like, but how about if we don't want them to go extinct? How about a zoo for them, because they're not a nice predator. They
well,
will.
deer though, you gotta have a predator for deer though. You have to. I mean, like you have
There's
to because deer will overpopulate if they don't have a predator. They will overpopulate and they will actually become diseased because
oh
of
we
there's not enough food for the whole population, and they just become like they become very sick and weak.
we have a
Um,
buck. I think it's a virus. They said. My dad was showing me that because we do have mountain lions, but not that the mountain lions. There's not that many anywhere, even in nature. They have that big area, 50 square mile territory. But it was like here we had an island. They called it, I think, Elk Island off the California coast. They brought in, I believe it was elk. It was a bigger deer that was on there, and so the good state of California. Well, we can't. We don't want those here, and that's fine. So they actually paid a company from Australia to come in and hunt them out of helicopters. Paid them, of course, a huge amount of money, and it's like there are people that would have paid $10,000 to go shoot them, hunters, and then would have eaten the meat. And it's like that. Yes, deer should be controlled. So just good thought in what was that? That was Australia. They had something. Let's bring in foxes or whatever it was, and that you can see. Well, that might have been an honest mistake because there wasn't enough people. But guaranteed, I got enough California friends that would pay $5,000-$10,000 to go shoot deer. The state gets money, people eat them, and you don't have wolves that are out there just ripping apart 10 animals to eat one.
well,
Um,
if you got friends that'll do that, I can actually set them up with some deer hunting.
Now get that in-state license. But here in California, again, we got a disease going through, and you have limited time, and you can only take one buck, and it's and here we don't have the masses like they do, so we only hunt the bucks, and then up
Yeah,
north,
we can kill those here. Yeah.
yeah, that you have so many of them, and it's but even the common guy go to Yellowstone, which is going to cost money just to go camp. Um, it's like craziness. Let them figure. They know how many deer are there. They know what they're doing. But instead, like here, they would be like, "Oh, the coyotes are so cute." I had my brother had sheep fenced in more close to the biggest city around, and he had 5 or 6 sheep just ripped apart, some still alive. They would eat part of the gut and take off. And this is
Yeah,
with
we
no
have coyote problem here too.
yeah, and it's like, guys, come on.
They take people's pets.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, but it's natural. And it's like, so am I. and so is human beings. And to say that, you're going to devastate, I guess it's buzzard food. I guess they need buzzards, but it's just doesn't seem common sense. And two, the whole fire thing, and they always joke with Trump, and I know you probably laugh with them. You got to sweep the forest. No, okay, a normal person, he's a rich guy from East Coast. You got to clean the forests. So they, and unfortunately, nobody told him. It's like, dude, because if Trump would have just said, you guys got to clean these forests, because California, because of lawsuits from environmentalists who are tied in with the government that makes tons of money on lawsuits, they can't touch dead trees. And this was, I would have been, in the 80s, we had a disease here called oak root fungus, which would kill other things besides oaks. But you'd go through driving through the forest and you'd see full-grown Douglas fir trees dead, but they wouldn't allow them to come and cut them down because it might have hurt a little salamander or something. But then these fires have been from 20, 40 years of these forests not being maintained, that even the Indians were smart enough to do controlled burns
Control burns.
hundreds of
Yeah.
years ago. But our smart environmentalists, and mainly it's lawyers, sorry guys, lawyers, you're scumbags, who would shut down those kind of things because it would take so much money to clear out a forest. And meanwhile, now you see what we have in LA, you see what we have in the north, and we've had those before. It's not just the global climate change. These forest fires have been having a long time. Now with the
Yeah,
winds,
well, I think that like where the Palisades is they took a dry desert part of California and brought a city in there, and what I mean, and it probably wasn't the best place to build a city.
well, no, it's actually a beautiful area. I've been through it, but like even in your area, and you figure here that's a desert. You have I mean, LA's a desert. It's a little
Yeah.
bit higher, but it's still. And you got to get in and clean up the bushes. You got to sweep the leaves, or in real
Yes.
talk, which would have done. You've got to take out the fire hazards, and that's why we've had these winds forever. It. In
Yeah,
California,
the Santa Ana winds are
Ana down there, and we have them up here in the north. We've always had them. They're not even that. They might be a little worse, but they're not that much worse because climate change is gradual. It's not huge, and so we've had it. But they've cleaned the forest before. They would cut down. They'd go through. You had the and like had a kid
the
and
undergrowth.
cut
Yeah,
out the undergrowth, cut out the dead trees. I had a kid, kid, and he joined the forestry up here. And then so we had ours up here in about 2018, 20.
I remember my daughter's house that she lived in burnt during the northern ones up there
Oh, wow.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so we're even more north. So these fires, but it's because, and one example, PG&E, which is our power company, they donated to Governor Newsom's something art thing or whatever. Him and his wife, the PG&E, which he monitors, donated $750,000 to his nonprofits. He is the one in charge of getting people to regulate them. And our fires here have been because we've had these winds. The trees haven't been cleared by the PG&E wires. Winds happen, tree go through the wire, and that's when the ones up here have started. So that's total government undersight.
Yeah, that was neglect right there.
Neglect.
Sounds like.
And now, so like I was saying, the kid, and this was after those fires, he joined the forestry just because that's what he wanted to do. And so they were working, so they have their days. Then after this, and after it started hitting the governor, they had the forestry guys on their day offs would be out. So they'd be out there cutting down trees, burning trees, and then they'd get a fire call, and then they'd have to go on the fire call because usually, between the fires, they would kind of be able to rest, relax, 7 days a week, they had crews going cleaning up these forests, sweeping the leaves, and
there's all those kind of places are always undermanned.
well, they weren't. It's just the money got going to other places. Like there was one account in California for forestry type of stuff. It had $50 million in it, and this was like 10, 20 years ago now. But $50 million account. They go, whoa, we got this. Oh well, nobody knew it was there. So you go, come on, somebody knew it was there. The interest on that would have just been huge. You know, the party. You need
You would
parties.
think, yeah.
You need parties for the governor and all these, and no matter Democrat or Republican. You know, so it's just that, and whether you like Trump or not Trump, this is the reason we have Trump. I can't stand Trump, but it's like I'm paying you, you know, as your company. I'm paying if I got a good job, which I have to travel for into the rich areas of towards San Francisco more. I'm paying $2,000 more a month on fuel. Oh, how much more do I make on that job? Not that much. So now we really hit the line. All my friends in construction and stuff, you know, finally, like 6 months ago, the economy finally hit the wall. I've gone down like 40%, and you know, it is the economy. It is the fuel prices because you know it. Your milk. How many?
I don't buy fuel. I don't buy fuel.
Yeah, but
My boss buys the fuel for this
right.
work.
But I'm
So
sure. Just
I'm
think
glad
though.
I don't have to pay for fuel, actually, because when I fuel up, I have to fuel up every trip. I spend $250 every trip on fuel.
And how
So
much has that gone? Well, see, and you're though in a good place. I'm paying.
yeah, Kentucky's cheaper and Tennessee are cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where all the oil refineries are, right?
No, they're not in
No.
Kentucky and Tennessee, but our fuel's cheaper than a whole lot of places. We don't have as much fuel tax as a lot of states. Like West Virginia has a real expensive fuel tax. A lot of that
California.
is what affects the price. You know what I mean? And like what the fuel tax is. But
California.
we have direct you know, there's pretty much interstate travel from where the refineries are. So it's not hard getting getting it to us, and we don't have as much fuel tax.
Yeah. So in California, I'm an hour away from the refineries, and my fuel is still around $5.
I think y'all's is fuel tax though, a lot of it. I
It's
think
about.
that California puts a high fuel tax on fuel,
I
if
can
I
imagine.
remember correctly. Because I've had to buy fuel in most states. The only state I've not ever driven in that's in the 48 is Maine. I've driven in every other state, and the fuel tax is what makes the difference on the price. And I'd say California, as anti fossil fuel as they are, they probably have a very high fuel tax.
No, I think it's still though doesn't contribute to just supply and demand. That we're all usually a little bit higher, but even that, you know, the oil companies have made bank
Oh yeah.
with the higher, and then so that's where I distrust our governments, because you know it is a Republican Democrat unified. Let's the more so you all this stuff, the people that are invested into those companies, and those companies have made billions of dollars. And
And they
us,
have lobbyists. They have a lot of lobbyists. The fossil fuel industry has a lot of
oh
lobbyists
yeah,
in Congress.
and but
We're
that's
way off of evolution now, though. You know.
it is. But that's why this is kind of we're just chatting because I think we're the only ones here. But yeah, it's just just backs up for me though, not trusting humans. So I do have kind of a distrust when I'm seeing you know, the human trafficking, the
There's a lot of
crime
corruption on both sides.
on
I
both
mean,
sides.
across. Yeah, there is. There's a lot of corruption. I mean, I will. I mean, I am actually a registered Republican, but I wouldn't probably never vote Republican probably ever again unless something severe happens. But in Kentucky, actually, we have to. If I'm not registered Republican, like in my sheriff race at my county, like 3 Republicans will run for sheriff. There'll be no Democrat. You know what I mean? And the only way I can vote for one of the Republicans that's in there is to be a registered Republican.
That's
And I
the
have,
opposite of California.
yeah,
'Cause
we have closed primaries, is what we have. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know what we have, but there's the Republican. I don't know. Think of the most liberal Republican ever, and that's a California Republican.
well, like I'm
Um,
only allowed to vote for as a registered Republican in the primary. I'm only allowed to vote on the Republican people. You know what I mean? I don't get to vote. We don't get to vote anything on the Democrat side until the general election happens. So,
yeah,
but
no,
I have a good friend of mine who is our county sheriff. I graduated high school with him, and he's a good sheriff. And so I want to be able to vote for him in the sheriff's race because he usually has 2 or 3 that run against him. And so I want to make sure that I keep him as sheriff as long as he can be sheriff. And coroner, I have a friend that I graduated high school who's the coroner, so I always like to vote for him.
you're connected.
Well, yeah, well, my age, we kind of aged into. He was actually in the army, and then he became a Kentucky State Police, and then after he retired from that, he ran for sheriff. So he's got years and years in law enforcement.
No, Nicole, knowing somebody because you don't know. Sonoma County, actually, the county I'm in, is pretty pro law enforcement, even though kind of things. And the last statistics that I had was Obama was like 3-1, 3 for him. So we're a pretty Democrat thing, but the law enforcement here, they don't mess around. Still, the prosecutor, retired prosecutor, lived down the street from me, nice lady, but big Democrat. But they're really, luckily for us, it's like we don't care if you're a criminal. You're not welcome to just do your thing.
Yeah,
So we're really lucky. This whole stupid thing of anti-police is that they don't care. Now the homeless thing's a different story because we got California is huge with that,
yeah.
and I know
Well, I
a
mean,
guy.
if I was homeless, I would go to California to live too. I wouldn't go to like South Dakota.
Exactly.
You know
If you went to like Nevada, if you went to some places, they'll actually give you a ticket to California. Those states,
I mean, yeah, because I mean, if you live outside, you got to live in a state that you can live outside in. So,
yeah. But it's funny. But
and plus, it's expensive there. It's so expensive. It's
but they're given so much welfare, all this stuff. If they didn't do drugs, they given houses if they will regulate themselves, like no breaking down the house, no burning the place down, that kind of stuff. So many of them just choose not to keep to have the public housing because we got tons. But it's funny thing that I knew a guy was in charge of helping the police. He was in the city's employment, but he was kind of go between with the homeless. So he would have to be in with the police to make sure, when they had to move homeless people. And but some things they'd be months. There's one place's real nice area actually, and there was 3 fires, and then they kicked them out. It was state property, but the city dwellers, and not like real expensive, but just nice middle income properties. And after the 3rd fire, outside there, the wall of the place, they cleared them out. But if you, as a homeless person, brought a tent up to our hills, which is the real expensive houses or a couple gated communities, he would get a call not from his supervisor. He would get a call from high up because he was just a grunt. And there's like 3 or 4 supervisors, and he would get a call from a high-end city manager personnel telling him, "Hey, go over this address," and it was always either up in the rich area on the hill or down near one of the gated communities, and they were gone. They'd have them the next day. Where others, like this place, was months. I had pictures of just tents a mile along the freeway outside these nice houses, middle income houses and apartments too, and just all the trash. It was just sad. I had friends in the poor area, and they were, "Dan, what can we do? Can you put up fence, bamboo, whatever?" I go, "Well, call the police." And they won't do anything because and there's these, they're doing drugs right out there. They're doing everything. This is not homeless. These people, it was on a running track, a public, walking trail. They'd be people accosted. They finally cleaned up one area because these kids had to walk an extra 4 blocks to get home because the underpasses were full of these homeless druggies. They're not the the homeless that you want to take care of, except for you'd want and expect the state to take care of, people addicted to drugs instead of leaving them out on the street like unwanted animals. And then we have again too, and these fairs and its community churches, non-churches, they have it Thanksgiving where they'll just come in, they'll give them food, clothes, and other times of the year. And this another guy I know who was part of, they ran out of dumps in the Santa Rosa city municipality because they dump it there, and then they pay the trucks to haul it off. They didn't have any space because then these homeless things, the poor guys, they're mentally deficient or on drugs, so they'd have like all these food containers. They'd hoard a bunch of them, get 4 or 5 carts, grocery carts, putting in these new sleeping bags, new jackets, new whatever clothes. And then, of course, they'd go on a binge. And then these people would have to clean up truckload after truckload of soiled clothes from the rotten food. You got rotten food in with these new things, and it's just a sad situation. And they're just, if I did that with my dog, they would arrest me. But the government's allowed to just mistreat these people so badly. So with that, how's the milk? Oh, Robin, you're muted. Anyway, thank you for letting me rant on that. Robin, are you still here?
Can you hear me now?
There you are.
I don't know how I got muted, but I said here we have a lot of our homeless problem is a lot of veterans, like a lot of like here in Nashville, here in Tennessee, there's a lot of the homeless is veterans, and they have a lot of like emotional, or mental issues. It's really sad.
No, totally sad, and they're mixed in, and then so unfortunately, though, unfortunately, we have to have some kind of transparent place for them. The amount of money California spends on the homeless, you could set them up in a like a Disneyland park. Give them their own little rooms where they can pretend to be whoever they want to be. Nice padded rooms. They can be a Jedi Knight or whatever they want. And it would be cheaper.
We need to address mental health a lot more, and then we would be, especially amongst our veterans. Our veterans deserve to have their mental health taken care of.
I would say everybody. I know we had a lady that my parents took care of, but she was totally, getting to the place in life. She was paranoid. They tried to get her some medical help, but they go, no, she has to sign for it. So you got a mentally ill people who have to sign to get help. The help was there for free, but they had to sign for it. And so many of these poor people, and we must, and then have it transparent, because yes, back in the day, the people like this were mishandled. The state mistreated them. And so there does, and that's why they're on the streets, because they go, oh, you can't lock them up. But we got to get to a point that we can not lock them up, but give them a place, give them help, because we're in California. We're spending enough money; they could have their own. It was like I don't know how many million. San Francisco, they did this is how much, because we got to help the homeless, but they know how many homeless, and it was an extreme amount of money per homeless person, which of course went mostly to people that aren't helping. So what's
Yeah.
nice before we go? Let's have a good subject. We've had such
Yeah.
agreeable. Maybe we should fight before we go, Robin. That might.
We won't fight
No,
about.
no, it's so much fun. To be able to talk with you, be able to let me see real quick if anybody did pop in that we could Christian Pike, wait, what happened? Did I drop out? Darn it. Yes, Christian, you dropped out. So I did not do that. I even
He
let
booted
Claude.
you. He booted you, Christian. He booted you.
Yeah, you're not on high as my list as Claude is. No, and so that's why I have fun with people. All right, ma'am. You have a great night. You can stay safe out there on
Thank
that
you.
in those trucking, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Let me see if we can do some pretty music to get out of here. That's the right one.